Chapter 164. Yan Yonghua's gaze shifted from Supervisor Bai's slender fingertips. His expression turned gloomy, but he still remained calm. We believe that Jack was a modified human, at least until the night of September 30th.
That way, his way of thinking would not have been able to surpass the template of the brain nucleus and would not have been creative.
We have the template settings of his version of the brain nucleus and have used the exhaustive method to list all possible options. We have selected the ones with the highest probability and checked them one by one.
Okay, and then?
So far we've searched through Jack's life circle, but we didn't find anything. The Apocalypse Laboratory searched through the cloud space where the data was uploaded, but we didn't find anything either. After various investigations, we can basically confirm that if there are any relevant data records, they must be carried by Jack. Yan Yonghua glanced at Supervisor Bai's face and paused for a moment before continuing. We have searched the battlefield in the early morning of October 1st, but the Ability User Association search was very thorough and did not leave anything valuable behind. This way, the target is likely to be in their internal bidding for the spoils of war. So far, we have recovered all the bidding goods through the middleman. However, the evaluation of the Deep Sea Type 4 dynamo core and the brain nucleus has not been completed and the bidding has not begun. In addition, the C-2834 test subject is still under the control of the Ability User Association. It has been in a coma for the 7th consecutive day, but from the collected information, its vital signs are relatively stable. The lengthy speech could basically be regarded as a work report. Yan Yonghua felt this halfway through his speech.
However, the arrow was already on the bow and there was no reason to stop halfway.
Supervisor Bai did not respond immediately after the long speech. She seemed to be digesting the information and seemed to be in a daze. Yan Yonghua hated this kind of situation where he had to wait for someone to express their stance, but he still had to wait patiently. At the same time, his heart slowly sank. This was the last thing he wanted to see.
Hu Yuli was still drinking his tea. His eyes narrowed.
After about half a minute, Supervisor Bai finally said, "After listening to Assistant Yan, I am relieved."
Yan Yonghua's eyes lit up and a smile appeared on his face.
Supervisor Bai. Before returning to Xia City, I actually had a headache. After all, our missions are different. Even if we have a bit of cooperation with Jack and the C-2834 test subject, the following work will inevitably divide Xia City's current strength. Supervisor Bai leaned against her backpack and changed into a more comfortable position. It's all good now. All the measures that Assistant Yan has taken so far are under control. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. In this case, I don't need to be polite. I can just use it. Yan Yonghua's expression changed. His current position was the CEO of the Rainbow Fund and the assistant manager of the Sky Blue Security Company.
On the surface, the former definitely had more funds and resources than the latter, and that was indeed the case in a normal society.
However, the problem was that if Yan Yonghua could only choose between the two positions, he would undoubtedly choose the position of assistant manager. This was because it represented the formidable strength of 4 full squads and nearly 30 deep blue walkers. But now, Supervisor Bai wanted to take everything away with just one sentence? The situation was worse than Yan Yonghua had imagined. Supervisor Bai wasn't just making empty promises. She had the signature of the Quantum Corporation headquarters and the Apocalypse Laboratory. When this electronic document was inserted into Yan Yonghua's work wristband, the authority settings on it came into play. Yan Yonghua's direct leadership of the 4 deep blue walker squads, which was the position of chief captain, was transferred to Supervisor Bai. Currently, Yan Yonghua was only an assistant in name at the Sky Blue Security Company. In reality, there was no longer any meaning. Yan Yonghua's face was ashen as he stared at Supervisor Bai's dazzling face. His aura was already fluctuating faintly and the blood in his chest was about to boil. Supervisor Bai's relaxed posture did not change. She smiled at Yan Yonghua and continued to gather the power in his body. Hu Yuli could not sense the power mode of the burner, but he found that the atmosphere in the room had become extremely dangerous. It was not good for him to sit still, so he put down his cup and smiled to smooth things over. The headquarters and the laboratory must have their reasons for this arrangement. As long as the two of you cooperate sincerely, it doesn't really matter who is in charge of which area. In the end, there is still a difference. Supervisor Bai was surprisingly frank. As for the specific difference, Assistant Yan, no, CEO Yan can slowly experience it. Oh, I haven't congratulated you on your promotion to CEO. See you later. As she spoke, she stood up, picked up her large backpack, and prepared to leave. Yan Yongbua stood up abruptly. For a moment, he really wanted to pounce on her, but in the end, his feet rooted to the ground. Only a hoarse voice squeezed out of his throat, but even he himself did not know what he said. Supervisor Bai seemed to have heard it clearly. Do you want to know the reason or the result? Why don't I tell you both? Research is not your job, so mistakes can be forgiven. Excavation is a task you cannot afford to make mistakes. However, Xia City's limited power cannot be divided up just for you. At the end of the day, you are still. This chapter is not over. Please continue to the next page. Failure is inevitable. As for the reason, it is very simple. You are on the wrong team. She smiled slightly. When she passed by Yan Yongbua, she patted his face lightly, then put on her sunglasses and walked out. Yan Yongbua was in a daze. When the door to the lounge opened, he seemed to have woken up from a dream.
Finally, he rushed forward and the words that he thought he would never say rushed out of his throat.
Supervisor Bai, you should know that I didn't choose a side, Supervisor Bai aimed her dark glasses at him. Are you refuting me?
Fine, so what if I have wronged you?
Yes, you are very self-aware. You gave up your job at the Apocalypse Laboratory. And your research mission you came to Xia City and took charge. I heard that you even want to pursue the He family's daughter? Yan Yongbua was a little stunned and did not know how to answer. Supervisor Bai's lips cracked slightly, revealing a beautiful and magnanimous smile. Do you want to realize your self-worth? What is your value? I'm sorry, I have to quote someone. Without the platform of Quantum Corporation and the Apocalypse Laboratory, you are nothing. You chose the excavation mission and chose to work as a human. You are destined to be dominated by God. If you chose the research mission and chose to work as a god, then dedicate yourself to God. Now do you understand where your mistake is? You are indeed on the wrong team.
You are wrong because you are on your own side.
Yan Yongbua was stunned on the spot. You are the first burner since the creation of Earth. You should understand where your value lies. If you are willing to cooperate, you can show it at any time. These 4 teams of deep blue walkers are still yours. Supervisor Bai raised her hand and shook her fingers lightly, bidding him farewell. Soon, Supervisor Bai's figure disappeared into the VIP passageway. Yan Yongbua stood at the door in a daze. Inside the room, Hu Yuli saw him like this. He was delighted but also felt a little sad. In the end, all that was left was rejoicing. Fortunately, I am going to retire. I missed another chapter. As of yesterday, I have updated 30 chapters in 9 days. That is 6 chapters less than expected. I really overestimated myself. Fortunately, the holidays are coming soon. Current progress. Subscription monthly pass February 15th. In addition, adjust the update time. Try to avoid being affected by class affairs. The 4 updates will be at 8 o'clock, 1400 hours, 2000 hours and 2400 hours. Do your best to update at a fixed time. The positive and negative time should not exceed half an hour. But if you adjust the schedule, it will probably be at the end of the holidays. Everyone, please bear with these 2 points and lose weight. Chapter 165. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was drizzling. Due to the terrible weather, the lighting on the low-altitude public bus was dim. Luo Nan grew more and more drowsy, and Mo Peng, who was next to him, yawned because of Luo Nan. Hey, you've been treating me for the past few days, but there's no effect at all. Cough, I just feel like sleeping. Why don't we sleep somewhere else? Well, you go to sleep now. If I fall into the game hall, will I still be able to do business with the owner? Luo Nan was discharged from the hospital on the 3rd and stayed at home for another 4 days. In the end, Mrs. Luo Shuqing felt that staying cooped up at home wasn't a good idea. She had Mo Peng urge Luo Nan to go out and relax. However, Luo Nan really wasn't in high spirits. Anyone who was carrying a bomb that could explode at any time would probably feel the same as him. More than a week of treatment was not as ineffective as Mo Peng had said. His lethargy, coughing, and other symptoms had been greatly alleviated. At least until last night. Yesterday was the night of October 6th. The Blood Flame Order, which had been silent for many days, probably felt that most of the people's energy was focused on the deep blue walkers. The rumors regarding the human-faced arachnid had died down, so they resumed their grazing activities. As before, Mo Luan led the wraith sign, who had perfectly disguised himself as a former member of the same species. He circled all over Xia City. Then, he was very lucky to bump into a member of the same species who wasn't so lucky. Ah Wu, the wraith sign swallowed a mouthful of the wraith sign, treating it as a dessert. Then Luo Nan had a lot of fun. Luo Nan had managed to alleviate the imbalance between his body and soul with great difficulty. But the wraith sign's feedback caused the situation to collapse in an instant.
Were it not for Luo Nan's out-of-body state and digesting this benefit in advance, it was very likely that his blood would have splattered all over the health pod.
It would have been a huge news event at Renai Hospital. Next, Luo Nan paced back and forth outside his fleshly body for most of the night. He made repeated attempts before he was able to use the dynamo core as a buffer to carefully store his soul back into his fleshly body. However, it was also this torment that caused his soul strength to increase by another level, causing the pressure on his physical body to increase once more. This caused all the healing he had done in the past few days to go to waste. All the symptoms showed signs of relapse. After exchanging a few words with Mo Peng, he started coughing again. Mo Peng didn't know what to do with him. He was going to the game hall to enjoy a feast later. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Now that he found it boring to play mobile games, he didn't know what to do. Out of boredom, he glanced at the public projector of the low-altitude bus station, which was showing the current hot topics. Star Associated Society's Deep Blue Walkers. The talkative host, the dull expert, the slick expert, and the well-produced video editing combined to form a quadrilateral that constantly changed its center of gravity. It was actually very attractive. Mo Peng was captivated by the edited footage of the Deep Blue Walker. At that moment, the program entered the interactive segment between the audience and the experts. The host eliminated the ridiculous topics like, are there mutants in the underground of Xia City? And does the Deep Blue Walker symbolize war? He chose a more professional and more basic question. There's a saying that Deep Blue Walkers don't just refer to a single piece of equipment. They also don't refer to a single person. Only when the burner is combined with a deep blue armor custom-made for them can they be considered a true Deep Blue Walker. Is that right? Wrong. The dull expert was an authoritative figure in the relevant field. His professional knowledge was impeccable. He immediately replied, strictly speaking, Deep Blue Walkers can be considered a kind of systematic concept. It is established on the basis of system theory and the archetype neural format theory. It requires the human nervous system to be the core to arrange all kinds of resources and obtain the most optimal results. The first application research of this theory was conducted by Quantum Corporation's Deep Blue project. As for the walker, it's another name for the prototype machine. It has two meanings. The first is a pedestrian on the road. The second is a Buddhist term that specifically refers to a person who has entered the path of cultivation but hasn't taken a vow. In other words, this research is only at the beginning. It's just on the road. There's still a lot of follow-up work to do.
In terms of the individual, the burner is fully deserving of being the core.
It's just that it's limited by the natural conditions of the human body. It needs a special exoskeleton to supplement and assist. Therefore, the relationship between the burner and the custom-made armor is one of leading and supporting. It's not a parallel relationship.
From my personal point of view, the relationship between man and machine should be that of core and supporting.
The supporting equipment supports the lower limit of a Deep Blue Walker.
The autonomous consciousness of man determines the upper limit of a Deep Blue Walker.
The host was already starting to regret letting the dull expert speak. At this moment, who knew how many people in the audience at this moment? It was unknown how many people in the audience were watching. They would close their eyes and yawn. Or they would simply switch channels. Mo Peng was one of the yawning members of the audience. But when he turned his head, he saw that Luo Nan had raised his head at an unknown time. Luo Nan was staring fixedly at the projection screen. Alright, this wooden expert was promoting the archetype formatting theory. It was the thing that Luo Nan couldn't stand. Mo Peng was really worried that Luo Nan would get angry and fall sick again. He hurriedly advised, this bro is showing off.
It's as if he's the only one who understands. What you say isn't without reason.
Luo Nan was referring to the words, autonomous consciousness of man, that came after the wooden expert. It coincided with the situation he had been tossing and turning these past few days. It was just that the situation was a bit more complicated. But Luo Nan could foresee that if he could increase the endurance of his fleshly body, then the lower limit of his abilities would correspondingly increase. The problem was, how to do it. It was practically impossible to keep up with the tempo of increasing the strength of his fleshly body step by step. Then, should he transform his body? Mo Peng gave him a push just as he was muttering to himself. Let's go. We're at our stop. The low-altitude bus stopped at the most bustling city center of Xia City. No matter what time of day it was, this place was always filled with people. Luo Nan did not have a good feeling about this place because it was far too stifling. As he walked on the pedestrian walkway, the towering buildings all around him seemed as if they would collapse at any time. Ahaha. Frost River reality. I'm coming again. Mo Peng suddenly became excited. Luo Nan raised his head and saw the gorgeous holographic advertising wall of Frost River reality not too far away. It was currently broadcasting scenes of hot-blooded battles. Battles in the wilderness, battles in lava, battles in the deep sea, battles in space. Each and every battle scene seemed to be real. They attracted the gazes of passers-by. Virtual reality had a fatal attraction to almost all young people. As the largest reality-based chain store in Xia City, every Frost River reality was actually a large-scale amusement park. There was no need to worry about not having a place to kill time. Of course, with Mo Peng's personality, it was impossible for him to quietly come and play with 2 or 3 people. Just as he was looking left and right for people, a call came in. Peng 17, Lil Nanster, come over here. You guys are really slow. I've been drinking so much cold drinks that my spine is about to freeze. A group of young boys and girls had already stopped at an ice cream store near Frost River reality. They were just waiting for them to come over. Chapter 166. The Frozen Star Ice Cream Shop was a famous chain business in Xia City. Although it was past peak season, it was backed by Frost River reality. Business was still great on Sunday nights. When Luo Nan and Mo Peng came in, they nearly got lost in the crowd. Luckily, the number of men and women waiting for them was not small. They were quite eye-catching as they waved. The group of people sat at 2 tables, which made the place more spacious. What was interesting was that most of the people here had the surname Mo. The Luo family was not very populous in Xia City, but the Mo family was flourishing here. Uncle Mo Haihang had 5 brothers and sisters, and he was related to them in various ways. It was not difficult at all for him to pull together hundreds of people. Including his cousins, Mo Peng's age was ranked 17th among his siblings. He was usually called Peng 17. During festivals, Luo Nan would not even be able to straighten his tongue when greeting his uncles, aunts, cousins, or grandnephews. He would hide if he could. Of course, as a child living in his aunt's house, he was indeed an outsider to the Mo clan. He didn't have any blood relations with them, and with his temperament, most of his peers were just nodding acquaintances. Usually, Mo Ya and Mo Peng would drag him along, so they would occasionally get together. Here. The one who waved the most cheerfully was Mo Han, the one who had just contacted Mo Peng. Mo Peng called her Sister 16, without the slightest trace of politeness. On the other hand, Luo Nan still called her Sister Han from a distance. In the past, he had followed Mo Peng and called her Sister Pomegranate, 16, but he did not want to call her that. It was probably because of the Mo family's genes. Other than Mo Ya with her super long legs, the youngsters of the Mo family were not too tall. Mo Han, this lively girl, was clearly 2 years older than him. She was going to go to college next year, but she was shorter than Luo Nan by half a head. Her beaming smile made her look very innocent. She could play with anyone. Luo Nan followed Mo Peng's shouting. The oldest of the Mo family siblings was Mo Cheng. He was ranked 7th. He was already in his 3rd year, but he was the same as Mo Peng. He was a veteran game geek. His major was game design. He was always the leader of such activities. Mo Peng always acted as his assistant and began to count heads. 7th brother, 9th brother, 13th sister. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Sister Pomegranate. Oh my. Nanzi, brother Lu, brother Jiang, and brother Jia are all here, right? Lu, Jiang and Jia were all members of Mo Cheng's gaming team, so they were used to playing together. Mo Cheng waved his hand. Let's wait a little longer. Chen Chen hasn't arrived yet. And third brother, he's also here, and he's treating us today. Ha! Mo Peng was very surprised. Chen Chen was the only female member of Mo Cheng's team. It was normal for her to be here. However, the third son of the Mo family, Mo Chiu, was almost 30 years old this year. He was at the age to start a family and start a career. He had long passed the age to play around with these young people. Furthermore, he was someone who always put on airs. This was not right. Mo Han blinked and lowered her voice. I heard that they're here for a blind date.
TL. Mo Peng still didn't understand.
Blind date? Doesn't he have a girlfriend? They broke up. They used to be in the same unit. Now that he's jumped ship to a new company, they broke up quickly. This one seems to be someone he met through Sister Chen. She's in the University Department of Acumen College. Acumen College? What a coincidence. Mo Peng looked at Luo Nan. She's a teacher. No way. She's a student. Holy crap. An old cow eating young grass.
Mo Han wrinkled her nose.
I heard that she's a beauty. She's an officer in the University Department of Acumen College. She's graduating this year. Hey, Lil Nancy, it's time for you to play your role. Is there such a person in your school? Luo Nan just laughed. How could he say anything? Mo Peng was very impressed. It looks like third brother Chiu has struck it rich. He invited the 10 of us to play games for the sake of a blind date?
In the name of friendship. Mo Han had the appearance of someone who understood the world.
Playing games is good. Don't look at how many people there are. Who cares about who in virtual reality? In the end, aren't they the ones alone? They can do whatever they want. Mo Peng gave a thumbs up to this sister pomegranate who dared to say anything. At this time, Mo Chiu, who became the center of the conversation, walked into the ice cream shop. He was dressed casually. His height was average, but his figure was maintained quite well. He looked very spirited.
He had the maturity of a person in society and a bit of superiority.
Perhaps it was very lethal to young girls who had yet to leave school. Mo Chiu frowned a bit at the noise of the ice cream shop. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. This wasn't his ideal location for a friendship. Actually, Frost River reality wasn't it either. But since he was already here, he would take things as they came. He greeted his group of brothers and sisters. His posture was calm and he looked very confident. After taking a seat, he asked Mo Cheng, Cheng 7, they haven't arrived yet? Chen Chen just went to pick up her sister from the hospital. She just happened to be here to relax. She might be a bit late. How many people are coming over there? Currently there are 4, 3 women and 1 man. Chen Chen and her sister are your targets. One of them might be her sister's boyfriend. Oh, they're here. As soon as Mo Cheng said this, everyone's gazes turned towards him in unison. Which one is the blind date? Sister Chen's left or right? It's definitely the left. She's over there. She suits third bro's taste very well. The one on the right should be Sister Chen's sister. She's almost 1.7 meters tall. She's only in high school. Third bro shouldn't be this shameless. Mo Peng chuckled. High school? High school is good. She can socialize with me too. Mo Han extended her hand and gestured on top of his head. Girls with short bodies are cute.
Boys with short bodies? She suddenly felt the unfriendly gazes from all around her halfway through her words.
She stuck out her tongue and stopped talking. Chen Chen's group had already arrived while they were whispering. Mo Chiu took the lead and everyone stood up to greet them. Luo Nan just stood up when he saw the slim woman next to Sister Chen. He was stupefied. She didn't immediately discover Luo Nan in the crowd. Instead, she followed her sister and greeted everyone. But she still had to see. The two locked gazes. Luo Nan had already mentally prepared himself, but the other's face paled. She didn't make a sound. Sister Chen had already introduced herself clearly. My sister, Chen Xiaolin. Acumen College's Mutual Aid Association secretary. That's right. She was Shuelei's girlfriend, Chen Xiaolin, who was admitted to the hospital for treatment after suffering a fright at the Limestone Water Village pub last Friday. Luo Nan never expected to bump into her in this kind of situation. It looked like Chen Xiaolin's impression of him hadn't been eased by nearly 10 days of treatment. This was awkward. Chapter 167. It just so happened that Luo Nan rarely hung out with this group of people. Chen Xiaolan, who was also the Chen Chen that Emoching spoke of, was not too familiar with Luo Nan. Chen Xiaolan, who was also the Chen Chen that Emoching spoke of, was introduced to Luo Nan along the way. She was a bit stumped when she suddenly saw this somewhat unfamiliar face. The awkwardness that was displayed on the surface actually covered up Chen Xiaolan's unnatural movements. At this time, it was the experienced Mo Chiu who came to the rescue. What do you think? Our fifth uncle's son, Nanster, has changed after attending Acumen College, right? You can say that Acumen College is nurturing people. Xiaolan, you didn't give me this much pressure the last time we met. Mo Chiu's self-deprecation and flattery eased the awkwardness. Everyone laughed. However, there were also some parts that were a little inappropriate. Mo Han secretly complained, "It's destroying people, right? They just came out of the hospital." Chen Xiaolan was able to form a battle squad with a bunch of big men. She was a character that wouldn't lose to men. She wasn't faking it. She immediately patted Luo Nan's shoulder. "So it's Nanster. I didn't recognize you just now. It looks like we haven't played together much. You just got in this year, right? Xiaolan is 1 year ahead of you, so let her take care of you in the future. If they bully you, just tell me." If it was under normal circumstances, Mo Chiu and Chen Xiaolan would have let the matter pass. But the problem was that Luo Nan wasn't a person with particularly strong adaptability. As for Chen Xiaolan, she was usually smart and capable, but her mind was unsettled right now. Her reaction was extremely terrible. She didn't follow up. She didn't even pay attention to her older sister's words. "Junior Luo, long time no see." Chen Xiaolan's abnormal reaction immediately attracted Chen Xiaolan's attention. In fact, Chen Xiaolan's current performance was quite different from her previous performance. Mo Pang and Mo Han hid to the side and whispered, "Holy crap, there's something going on." But to Luo Nan, this level was practically a loud announcement right next to his ear. Luo Nan glared fiercely at them. Chen Xiaolan didn't hear the whispers on the other side. Even if she did, she would pretend not to hear it. She was a little curious. "What? You guys know each other? Is Acumen College that small? I just met her last week. Senior sister Chen even helped me." What else could Luo Nan say? He could only deal with it first. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. However, at this moment, a voice from the other side joined in. "So you're also a junior from the academy? Last Friday, did you participate in the mutual assistance buffet party?" The one who spoke was Mo Chiu's target, Tian Si. She looked rather petite and beautiful, and her smile was especially alluring. No wonder Mo Chiu was trying so hard to woo her. "Yes. Hello. Senior Tian." Luo Nan also remembered that he seemed to have met this person before. It was either the student council or a member of the Student Assistance Association. However, President Chen Weikan was too dazzling back then, so the impression of the people behind him was already very shallow. If it wasn't for the fact that the information matched, he wouldn't have been able to recall it. Tianxi laughed quite happily. "Acumen College's power has suddenly risen greatly here. Junior Luo, Xiaolin, Tianqi, and me are almost 1/3 of the total." Tianqi was the only male in Chen Xiaolin's group. He was also Tianxi's cousin. He was tall and thin and had a refined manner. It was obvious that he was interested in Chen Xiaolin. He stared at Luo Nan from the moment Chen Xiaolin's expression changed. His suspicion carried a hint of vigilance. However, when Tianxi mentioned him, she still smiled at Luo Nan. She extended her hand and shook hands with Luo Nan, calling him junior. At the very least, she didn't lack elegance. Luo Nan inexplicably felt that this was a bit absurd. He could sense it very clearly. Right now, the group of 4 from Acumen College was conversing back and forth, but they all coincidentally circled around one person. However, they were constantly affected by this person. Xue Lei. Emotional issues. Luo Nan felt his teeth ache just thinking about it. Luo Nan wouldn't easily get involved in areas he didn't understand at all. However, he had participated in the unforeseen event between Xue Lei and Chen Xiaolin to a large extent. He didn't feel that he had done anything wrong. Back at the Limestone Water Village pub, the human-faced arachnid had already set its eyes on Xue Lei. It had taken control of the society's ability user, black wolf, to launch a pincer attack. It was clear that the human-faced arachnid wanted to treat Shui Lei as food. If he hadn't exposed them on the spot, the consequences would have been too horrible to contemplate. But looking at it from another angle, if Luo Nan hadn't hypnotized the emotional Chen Xiaolin during the fight between Shui Lei and the Black Wolf, Chen Xiaolin's psychological suggestion wouldn't have been so intense. He was more or less responsible. No matter how much undercurrent surged between the group of 4 from Acumen College, it wasn't the main topic of tonight's event. Frost River Reality and the Fellowship were the main topic. Please continue to the next page if this chapter doesn't end. Everyone got to know each other. They left their seats under Mo Chio's initiative. They entered the reception hall of Frost River Reality in a grandiose manner through the inner door of the ice cream store. This was undoubtedly the intersection point between the virtual world and the real world. Even though they had yet to come into contact with the most core of reality technology, there were interactive AR virtual images everywhere in the hall. Iron-blooded, cool, cute. They were all jumbled together. It looked messy, but the high-frequency interactions between people and virtual images and between virtual images were still very interesting to watch. At the very least, it was very cute for girls. Luo Nan quietly fell to the back of the group amidst the sudden clamor. He muttered to himself for a bit and finally decided to give Shui Lei a call. The call connected quickly. "Hello, Leicester. Where are you?" "I'm helping out at the Daoguan." Shui Lei's voice was still very loud. "You're coming to class tomorrow, right? Why don't you come live in Blue Bay? We can go for a morning run together." Shui Lei had called to greet Luo Nan when he was sick and hospitalized. He originally wanted to come and visit, but the hospital's visiting hours conflicted with the school's curriculum, so he gave up. He couldn't be as casual as Xie Junping. "I'm afraid my aunt won't agree." Luo Nan grinned. In the end, he brought up the topic of conversation. "Leicester, let me ask you something. You and senior sister Chen." There was no need to say it too clearly. Shui Lei suddenly went silent. He wasn't someone who was good at hiding his personality. When he spoke again, he was extremely depressed. "She steeled her heart to not meet with me. She's not even picking up my phone right now. The doctor said that it's best to keep a bit of distance from her to avoid provoking her." "Am I a freaking monster?" Luo Nan scratched his head when he heard this. He hesitated for a moment before saying, "I saw her at Frost River Reality. Right now, I'm playing with her and a few friends. Why don't you come over and meet me? We can talk things over." "Which Frost River Reality?" "City Center, Fudong Main Street." "I'll be right there." Shui Lei didn't say anything further. He hung up the phone and presumably rushed over in a hurry. But it would take at least 2 hours to get here from the River Wu district on the weekend. Luo Nan was really worried that he would come over empty-handed. He suddenly sensed something while he was pondering. He raised his head and saw Chen Xiaolin stop in front of him. She turned around to look at him. Chapter 168. Clearly, Chen Xiaolin was deliberately waiting for Luo Nan. Tian Luo Nan greeted, "Senior Sister Chen." Chen Xiaolin spoke very bluntly. "You're in contact with Leicester?" Luo Nan was a bit embarrassed. His coughing came surging up at this time and his face turned red. But now that they had pulled away from the team in front of them, some things could be said. "I heard that senior sister hasn't seen him all this time." Actually, the matter at the time. Luo Nan coughed with great difficulty. He wanted to explain but he didn't know where to start. From the bottom of his heart, he felt that it was better for Chen Xiaolin to never know about this level of things. "I can more or less understand what happened." "Oh." Chen Xiaolin watched Luo Nan, but the focus of her gaze wasn't on his face. "My dad used to be a special police officer. Leicester's father was also a special police officer. Their profession always brings them into contact with some very dangerous things. When faced with vicious criminals and the like, there's no reason. Violence is the solution, right?" Luo Nan could only nod his head in understanding. The profession of a special police officer is very dangerous. Right now, Leicester's father is more or less a police officer. But my dad wasn't that lucky. He was blown to pieces during a mission. This happened about 7 or 8 years ago. Luo Nan was stunned hearing this. He wanted to open his mouth to console her but he felt that it was meaningless. Plus, Chen Xiaolin's attitude was very calm and unperturbed. Junior brother Luo, I don't need to hide it from you. Leicester is the type that I really like. He's just like my father. He's firm, strong, simple, and generous. But when I think about how he might be like my father in the future, struggling between all kinds of dangers and never getting tired of it, I can't accept this. Chen Xiaolin shook her head amidst Luo Nan's silence. She suddenly laughed. And more realistically, I can't understand Leicester and your logic. Luo Nan spoke in a low voice. Senior sister, you're saying? Chen Xiaolin stared at him. Why did you and Leicester act like it was a matter of course when faced with that kind of situation? You didn't feel surprised at all? Panic? It was as if the surroundings should be filled with these things. Did you know? Your expressions at the time made my heart go cold. At this point, Chen Xiaolin took a deep breath and finally said, You and I may not be people of the same world. I can't understand, and I don't want to understand, let alone come into contact with you. Luo Nan was silent again. A long while passed before he said, I have a general understanding of seniors' intentions. But I don't know anything about this sort of thing. I just thought that between you and me, if this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. It's rare to be able to say things out loud like this. I think with Leicester's personality, he's definitely not the kind of person who pesters others, right? At the same time, Luo Nan could see that Chen Xiaolin was an extremely rational person. She probably wouldn't turn back once she made her intentions clear. He was pessimistic about the results of Xue Lei's visit. But no one could accept this for Xue Lei. Chen Xiaolin was indeed reasonable. She nodded gently. All right, let him come. Let's make things clear. Then thank you, senior sister Chen. Luo Nan nodded and let out a secret sigh of relief. This sort of thing was a domain he was unable to understand. Forcing himself to do this caused a layer of hot sweat to appear on his back. The distance between the two and the group grew further and further. Many people turned their heads to look, especially Tian Qi. He kept his gaze cast over, looking a bit gloomy. Luo Nan could understand the knot in Chen Xiaolin's heart, but some things weren't that easy to accept. He thought for a bit and couldn't help but ask, That person? Chen Xiaolin laughed. She actually flexed her arm to make a bulging motion. He's not my type. Clearly, Chen Xiaolin's mental state had calmed down quite a bit after talking about this matter. She could tell jokes now. This was obviously good for her, but the result for Xue Lei would only be more negative. Luo Nan sighed in his mind. He and Chen Xiaolin increased their pace to catch up to the group. Right now, the situation of the large group was quite interesting. Most people were paying attention to the center of attention of this get-together, which was Mo Qiu and Tian Xi. However, Tian Xi was paying attention to Tian Qi, and Tian Qi was paying attention to Chen Xiaolin. This chain of attention continued on, and unwittingly, Luo Nan and Chen Xiaolin became the center of everyone's gazes. Of course, Luo Nan and Chen Xiaolin were magnanimous, but people felt that they weren't magnanimous enough. Tian Qi found it hard to say some things, so Tian Xi smiled and said, Junior Nan, what are you talking about with our Xiaolin? Could it be that the matter last week wasn't settled? Was it because of the society? Oh right. Mo Peng realized something in hindsight. Last Wednesday, I remember my sister saying that you were going to test for the Mystic Arts Research Society. Did you pass? Luo Nan was speechless. Mo Peng, you've gone stupid from playing games. Over 10 days have passed. Just how slow are you going to be? You're still holding on to the past and not letting go? Tian Xi and Luo Nan broke into laughter in surprise before Luo Nan could respond. Tian Xi said, The Mystic Arts Research Society? Tian Qi is in the Mystic Arts Research Society. Ha! Luo Nan was a bit surprised. Tian Qi finally had the chance to speak formally. He felt that it was a bit funny, but also very strange. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. I've been helping out with the newcomer's interview, but I've never seen him before. Luo Nan. This name sounds quite familiar. He stared at Luo Nan, sizing him up for a while. Then he suddenly cried out involuntarily. Oh right. You're not the one who missed the exam, right? You didn't show up for the interview on Thursday. There were even people who tried to contact you, but they couldn't get in touch with you. The school system showed that you skipped classes for the entire day. We were all fired. Wow. Missed the exam? Skipped classes for the entire day? Acumen College, is this cool?
Lil Nanster, you really make people have a whole new level of respect for you.
Luo Nan discovered very innocently that he had suddenly become the target of criticism. Tianqi was a bit inexplicably excited when this situation suddenly occurred. His words grew more and more discordant. It's already quite late for our society's entrance exam. You skipped the exam. Does that mean you haven't joined the society yet? On the other side, Tianxi shook her head. She turned to look at Chen Xiaolin. Our society doesn't seem to have any arrangements. Did you miss it when you were admitted to the hospital that day, Xiaolin? It'll be hard to enter the society after you pass that window. Tianqi's expression was awkward and strange. Upon closer inspection, it was probably the type where he wanted to laugh but was holding it in. He wanted to increase his strength but was forcefully holding it back. But in the end, he still couldn't help but say, Junior, it's not that I want to say this, but it's too much of a pity for you to miss the opportunity to enter the society. Plus, 8 credits will be deducted from your year. Luo Nan understood Tianqi's current state of mind very well. He felt a bit helpless and bored. When all was said and done, he had no enmity with this person. There was a 50% chance that they would work together in the same society in the future. He didn't want to make things too ugly. Just as Luo Nan was about to explain, Mo Han, who had just been loudly mocking Luo Nan and wanting to have a whole new level of respect for Luo Nan, was aroused by Tianqi's attitude. Her eyes jumped back in the blink of an eye. The Mystic Arts Research Society? The one that studies alchemy? How popular can a place like that be? Tianqi's tolerance for the little beauty was quite high. He laughed and spoke rather proudly. Our society has ample funds. All sorts of projects are being carried out. They mainly lean towards mental and material interference, religious rituals, magical spells, Eastern metaphysics, and so on. Among them, large amounts of microscopic particles, human elements, psychology, systems theory, and other frontier subjects are involved. Mo Han snorted coldly. Deliberately mystifying. Little girl, this isn't mystifying. Suddenly, an arm wrapped around Mo Han's shoulder and pulled her into a hug, pressing half of the little girl's body into an embrace. The smell of alcohol and saliva sprayed onto the side of her face as she chuckled. Mo Han was caught off guard and screamed in fright. I'm finally home. I wish everyone a happy Mid-Autumn festival. I'm going all out to finish writing. Chapter 169. Everything happened too suddenly. The group of people watched as Mo Han was forcefully held in someone's arms. They didn't react in time. Mo Pang, who was the closest, was the first to rush over. He grabbed the man's arm and helped the struggling Mo Han break free. Mo Tao, Mo Han's elder brother and the strongest member of the group, let out a low roar and rushed forward, slamming the man against the wall and grabbing his collar. You're not going to die, Mo Tao said. What are you doing? F*CK me. What the F*CK are you doing? The man was pressed against the wall, but his voice was even louder than Mo Tao's. The smell of alcohol coming from his mouth was nauseating. He was clearly very drunk. Luo Nan and the others were at the place where they had just walked past the reception hall and entered the passage. The environment suddenly became narrow. A dozen or so people formed a circle, blocking most of the passage. The drunkard hoodlum shouted a few words, but he seemed to sober up a bit when he saw the dense mass of people before him. He was a bit scared for a time and stopped for 2 seconds. But soon, his drunken eyes caught a glimpse of a certain person in the crowd. He immediately stretched out his hand and swung it twice. Finally, he placed it on Mo Tao's shoulder and pointed at Tianqi, who was dumbfounded and had his mouth agape. What's up, little Tianqi? You can just flip your face when you want it outside? Officer Huang. Tianqi blurted out the first word, but he couldn't hold back the rest of the words. The man's many years of accumulated power made him feel weak in his heart. But the current situation truly exceeded the limits of his face. His fair face soon flushed red. If he could, Tianqi would certainly want to dig a hole in the ground and bury himself in it. Fortunately, his cousin Tianxi stepped forward bravely and angrily rebuked, Huang Bingzhen, what kind of drunken madness is this? The drunkard hoodlum narrowed his eyes. With great difficulty, he saw Tianxi's face clearly under the blurred light of the hallway. He laughed again. Tianxi. See, Sister Cece. This guy called Huang Bingjin was at most in his 20s. His drunken face perfectly accentuated his usual arrogance. Sister Cece, long time no see. What's up? Is it the student union or the student union? These people around me look unfamiliar. Don't crowd around me, I'm bored. He tried hard to pry Mo Tao's hand away but failed. This made him a little annoyed. Hey, you already know who I am. Who are you trying to fool? At that moment, some people in the crowd, if this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Luo Nan finally found some relevant memories. That's right. It's this Huang Bingjin. According to the intelligence report, he's an officer of the Mystic Arts Research Society. He's a typical rich second generation and a pervert. Last Friday night at the Limestone Water Village pub, Cat Eyes had smashed him into the wall. Perhaps it was because he had taken too many drugs at the time, but that experience clearly did not teach him a sufficient lesson. Tianxi naturally knew the ins and outs of Huang Bingjin. She wasn't afraid of his position in the school, but she was afraid of the Huang family's social influence. Her expression was very unsightly. Huang Bingjin, who did you come with? If you're drunk, go puke in the toilet. Is it fun to lose face outside? The Mystic Arts Research Society and Acumen College have lost all face because of you. Huang Bingjin had a cheeky grin on his face. It's fine. Sister Cece is so pretty. She'll grow back sooner or later. Everyone could see that there was no way to communicate with this fellow at this time. Mo Chio confirmed that Mo Han wasn't injured, so he didn't want to tangle with her any longer. He took advantage of the situation to close the distance between him and Tianxi. He lightly embraced her shoulder. Let's go. We can't lower ourselves to the level of a drunkard. Taojiu, let's go. Mo Tao glared fiercely at Huang Bingjin. He grabbed Huang Bingjin by the collar and slammed him into the wall before letting go. Who knew that once Huang Bingjin regained his freedom, he would run his mouth like a train. Hey, my friend over there. You're familiar with this line of work. Did you ask me for permission before doing this? Did you ask their president, Chen Chen? This fellow had an intoxicated look on his face, but his heart wasn't. His words were poisonous. Tianxi's face turned green from anger, but the more she was like this, the more excited Huang Bingjin became. So you guys are all hooking up, but I'm not allowed to hug a little girl. Come, little girl. Let me tell you about the Mystic Arts Research Society. He reached out to hug Mo Han as he spoke, but Mo Han, who had come back to her senses, wasn't someone easy to deal with. She immediately kicked out, hitting Huang Bingjin's shin bone. Mo Han was wearing pointy leather shoes. Her kick was filled with hatred. Huang Bingjin immediately let out a miserable groan. He hugged his leg and jumped, but he didn't stand firm. He fell to the ground, battered and exhausted. Let's go. Mo Chio didn't want to make a big deal out of this. He suppressed the unhappiness in his heart and called his companions to leave. The group of people walked inside, leaving Huang Bingjin behind. Huang Bingjin shouted, F***ck me, F***ck me. When they reached the corner of the passage, Mo Peng turned his head and swept a glance at Huang Bingjin, who was still cursing on the ground. He muttered, This guy's mouth is too sharp. I'm afraid I won't be able to have fun tonight. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Luo Nan grunted. He looked at Tianxi and Tianqi's preoccupied appearances. This was indeed the case. When they turned the corner, Luo Nan's line of sight could no longer be seen. However, the range of Luo Nan's mental senses still covered Huang Bingjin. He discovered that someone had gone over to greet Huang Bingjin just as they turned the corner. Clearly, this person had seen the conflict earlier but intentionally avoided trouble. Luo Nan had actually seen this person before. He was Lu Tao from Xie Juanping's circle of friends. At the same time, he was also a high-ranking member of the construction society. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and had a very scholarly appearance. Huang Bingjin was from the Mystic Arts Research Society. The circle of this group of rich second-generation kids far exceeded the circle of the school's societies. It didn't seem like a cruel bidding war was going on at all. Tonight, Mo Chio had actually spared no expense for this get-together. He specifically booked a large private room to facilitate the preparation work before entering. After the group of people entered the private room, They were guided by the AI to the scanning area to stand. The relevant equipment examined their body shapes, body characteristics, and so on. Data models were built, peripherals were matched, and so on were used to achieve the best effect of reality. Actually, the vast majority of people had accounts at Frost River Reality. A single scan was enough to connect with their previous data. They could stand for a bit and come out. But there were always exceptions to everything. Only Luo Nan could not get through the scan. Mo Peng was impatient. What's going on? Nanster, I brought you to play before. As a veteran gaming geek, Mo Chung was quite clear about the things here.
He shook his head and said, Nanster, you came last year.
You're half a head taller than last year. You've developed, but you don't play often. The system needs to readjust. Luo Nan was well aware that the drug stimulation had caused quite a large change to his body over the years.
Now there was no more drug stimulation, but under the stimulation of soul strength, the changes would probably be even greater in the days to come.
He laughed. Actually, it's nothing. I told you earlier that I wouldn't play sensual games. Why wouldn't you play? Mo Han found it strange. Isn't this the reason we came to Frost River Reality? This.
Luo Nan's scan finally went through, but a rare yellow light lit up in the scanning area.
There was also a prompt. Distinguished customer, we are very sorry to disturb your gaming progress. Since you are currently undergoing treatment, according to the doctor's advice, please do not engage in highly stimulating games. Strive to update on time tomorrow and try to make up for it. Current payment progress. Monthly subscription March 15th. Chapter 170. Following the sound of the notification, Luo Nan's account in Frost River Reality had many privileges temporarily locked down. They were displayed as restricted.
Even the peripherals and equipment that were sent over were different from those of other people. Everyone in the room looked at each other in dismay. I've lived long enough to see something like this happen? Even an expert like Mo Chung had never seen such a situation before. He clicked his tongue in wonder for a time. Luo Nan was calm. The scan results were one thing. The most important thing was that his medical records from Renai Hospital had been entered into the database. This situation only occurred when the two were combined. It could not be said that Frost River Reality was wrong. Many of the current somatosensory games used microstimulation of the nervous system to obtain more realistic effects. For Luo Nan, whose nervous system operated at a high rate, this was a big taboo. Mo Chung walked over to look at the specific restrictions and shook his head. I can't go to Area A and B. I can only play in Area C. The gaming area of Frost River Reality had a total of 3 levels. Area A was Reality Replica, Area B was Reality Immersion, and Area C was Reality Experience. The intensity of stimulation to the nervous system decreased in order. Of course, the degree of playability was the same. Area C was generally targeted at the elderly, children, or adults who wanted to relax. Young people who pursued excitement generally disdained this area. Luo Nan had talked to Mo Peng about the intensity of the game before he came. He just did not expect Frost River Reality and the hospital to be so extreme. Mo Peng reacted quickly. He spoke with a sense of loyalty. Then how about this? I'll accompany Nanster to Area C to practice his wilderness skills. You guys go wherever you need to go. Luo Nan walked out of the scan area and put on his combat suit peripherals. At the same time, he shook his head. I don't need you to accompany me. You can go play with Brother Seven and the others. It was not easy for a gaming madman like Mo Peng to come here. He definitely wanted to go to the most exciting area, Area A, to experience the effects of reality to the fullest. Mo Peng was still thinking about it. At this time, Tianxi smiled and raised her hand. I can't play games. I can't stand things that are too exciting. I'll stay in Area C. Since she had started, Mo Chio laughed. I'll also stay in Area C. Everyone else can play however they want. Just be careful. Cheng 7, don't go crazy. Watch over everyone. No problem. Mo Chung said this. It was hard to say how much he listened. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Chen Xiaolin wasn't very interested, but Mo Han and Mo Rue pulled her to Area B. Tian Qi also had a lot on his mind, but he definitely had to be on guard against this kind of natural third wheel. At that moment,
Mo Tao and Mo Peng dragged him to Area A. The group of people were quickly assigned and left in a huff. Nanster, where do you want to go play? Mo Chiu asked Luo Nan's opinion in a very considerate manner. The problem was that he was closer to Tianxi right now. It seemed that he was really interested in Tianxi. Huang Bingzhen's dirty words didn't affect him at all. Luo Nan didn't have any intentions of being a third wheel. He found a random reason. Third brother, you guys don't need to worry about me. I'm going to the 10 days in the wilderness to do some basic training. I'm also going to train my body in passing. Alone? No, Mo Peng can also turn on the guidance mode in Zone A. I'll call him when I get there. Luo Nan's wristband received a call as he spoke. It was an unfamiliar number. It just so happened that Luo Nan was about to pull away from the two main participants of the social gathering. Luo Nan raised his hand and gestured for them to move to the side. Hello. Hello, Mr. Luo. I'm Bai Xinyan. Luo Nan was stupefied for a moment before he reacted. Bai Xinyan? Wasn't that the brilliant disciple of Dr. Clay that Octopus Bro had mentioned? The one who had come to Xia City to help Octopus Bro with his early treatment and data collection? Especially since she was Mr. Bai's daughter. Luo Nan hurriedly added a greeting. Hello, Ms. Bai. Bai Xinyan's voice was low and gentle. It was very pleasing to the ear. Mr. Luo, the examination will only start tomorrow night. However, I just retrieved the information from Ren AI Hospital and the association. I saw the results of the automatic examination last night. It seems that there are signs of relapse. How do you feel now? Luo Nan secretly admired this person's strict attitude, but he couldn't say that the wraith sign was cheating him. He could only vaguely say, I really do feel a bit uncomfortable. I feel like the pressure has increased. Perhaps your soul power has grown again. There will always be a period of rapid growth before and after an ability user awakens. But for the current you, this is not good news. Bai Xinyan had accurately grasped the root of the problem and was very frank. Luo Nan was mentally prepared. Bai Xinyan continued, for the next step of treatment, I need to update some data here. I hope Mr. Luo can cooperate. I need to go back to the hospital. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Is it? No need. I noticed that the Frozen Star system retrieved your information from Ren AI Hospital about 5 minutes ago. The Frozen Star system? It's the main system of Frost River Reality. It's located in the supercomputer Black Dome. It's the carrier of several experimental projects of the Star Alliance Committee, the military, and the Ability User Society. It has a relatively close relationship with us. You're at Frost River Reality right now, right? Fudong Avenue in the city center? He had been caught. Luo Nan was a bit embarrassed. He could only explain, I'm in Area C and my privileges are locked. No, Mr. Luo. You can't be in Area C. I need you to go to Area A. Frost River Reality Area A's competition space has a classic competition event. You should have heard of it before. It's the Frost River Waterway. Frost River Reality is named after it. Yes, I know. Not only did Luo Nan know, he had personally experienced it. It was when he followed Mo Pang and called Mo Han Sister Pomegranate. That time was simply too embarrassing. Luo Nan still had lingering fears just thinking about it. The Frost River Waterway is actually a human body limit test project developed by our laboratory. It's equipped with an information collection device that can be used as a detection device to revise the relevant data. Then, Luo Nan was just about to ask when his wristband vibrated. He received an email in his inbox. Inside was an electronic key and the relevant method of use. Bai Xinyan's deep and melodious voice lingered in his ear. This is the temporary privileges of the Frost River Waterway. You can enter Area A through this. Then all you need to do is follow the requirements of the system. Join and do your best to persevere until the end of the game. That's it? Yes, I'll arrive in about 2 hours to extract the data. If Mr. Luo has the strength to spare, you might as well do it a few more times. This will help the system collect more comprehensive information. Luo Nan was very surprised. Ms. Bai has already arrived in Xia City. I just arrived not long ago. Bai Xinyan did not say much. She directly concluded, I'm looking forward to our meeting. I hope you have a good time. The call ended. Luonan looked at his wristband. There was an indescribable strangeness. Why did he feel that something was wrong? Hold on. The Frost River waterway. Do it a few more times? Luonan felt that his spine was about to freeze in an instant. Chapter 171. Luonan stood still. He stopped at the boundary between Area C and the guide area. Ahead was the reality area filled with AR virtual images. Through the strengthening of the external goggles, these virtual images had a bit of a cartoon flavor to them. It was hard to tell the difference between reality and illusion. Some advanced players could choose their virtual guide. From virtual idols to game heroes, there was no problem. Therefore, the area ahead suddenly became lively and clamorous. Real human figures and virtual images mixed together. It was a dazzling sight. Luonan talked as he walked. His speed was very slow. Mo Chio and Tian Si were already in front of him. He thought for a bit and did not enter Area C. Instead, he used the Hexa ear to contact Bro Octopus. After a week of preparation, Octopus had already begun the research work on Luo Yuandao's psychotropic drug. Plus, he was quite ambitious. He combined Luonan's practical results and opened up several groups of drugs for comparative research. He really turned into an octopus, spending several days in a row in high-intensity work. His days and nights had long since turned upside down. When Luonan contacted him, Octopus managed to find some time to take a nap in the laboratory. He was still a bit muddle-headed when he picked up the call. But when he heard Luonan's description, he instantly woke up. White Salt has returned to the country. He contacted you and wants you to go to the Frost River waterway? Octopus blurted out by Xinyan's nickname. He washed his face again to clear his mind. After pondering for a while, he said, I know about the Frost River Reality Project. The government, the military, the society, as well as many financial groups and companies are all involved. Chairman Ouyang is also a technical consultant. Our psychic wave network platform actually has a transplant. Of course, it's not suitable for you. But if it's somatosensory stimulation, the corresponding danger will be greatly reduced. Frankly speaking, White Salt's plan is a bit radical. But it is very much in line with the style of Dr. Clay's School of Reconstruction. Their school relies on top-notch nerve repair technology. They are very happy to test the limits of the human body in every case. They work on these limits, combining repair and strengthening into one. There is no school that can match up to this advantage. Of course, you need to pay attention to controlling the intensity. Luonan roughly understood. Since Octopus said this, there shouldn't be any major problems. He thanked Octopus and hung up. He decided to follow by Xinyan's instructions. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Following that, he followed the instructions on the key email and loaded the electronic key into his social authority system. He obtained temporary authority and connected to the frozen star system. Soon, the system guidance arrived. Luonan followed the instructions and left Area C. He took the special elevator to the third floor of Frost River Reality. The elevator door opened, and two ushers dressed as female starship soldiers said at the same time, "Welcome, sir." The two guides saw Luonan, who had the face of a student, standing in the elevator car wearing eye-catching, restricted peripherals. The latter half of the guide's speech was a mess. Luonan was able to confirm that the two guides were real people and not virtual images. He nodded in response and walked out of the elevator. It was completely different from the bustling scene below. Upon entering the third floor, it was extremely quiet. The gloomy black light and the dense light spots at the top formed a miniature starry sky environment. It was as if even breathing could be heard. Luonan could also feel that his arrival seemed to have caused trouble for the two guides, but he couldn't always explain, "I'm just here for a physical examination." He could only feign ignorance and politely ask for relevant information according to the system notification. "I want to go to Frost River number 3. How do I get there?" The two guides, one with long hair and the other with short hair, were both charming and pleasant. The two exchanged a few glances when faced with Luonan's question. Only then did the short-haired guide speak. "Sir, Frost River number 3 is an independent area. Can we confirm your corresponding authority?" Okay." Luonan was just about to raise his hand when the long-haired guide made a hand gesture to the side of the scanner to release light. The light swept across Luonan's combat suit peripherals and a pale yellow indicator light lit up. Luo Nan immediately received a system notification. Hello, respected customer. You have accidentally entered an unauthorized area. Please follow the instructions of the nearby guide and leave as soon as possible to avoid causing any accidents. The two guides looked at each other again. When they faced Luo Nan again, they simultaneously revealed professional sweet smiles. Sir, you have also seen the situation. I hope you can cooperate. Wait, it's not that. Luo Nan could roughly guess that the authority on his wristband was not connected to the peripherals of Frost River reality. He was just about to explain when the electricity behind him stopped. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. The ladder door opened again and someone walked out unsteadily. Another drunkard. Was Frost River reality an amusement center or a hotel or a restaurant? However, the person who came was clearly a regular customer. The two guides saw him and simultaneously bowed in greeting. Mr. Hu. The drunkard walked over. He looked quite young. He casually placed his arm on the shoulder of the short-haired guide. The latter hurriedly reached out to support him and revealed a sweet smile. Mr. Hu, what do you have in mind? Mr. Hu was still clear-headed. Give me a private room and an environment that can quickly hypnotize me. Let me sleep for a while. Yes, C7. These people can really drink. Okay, Mr. Hu. The short-haired guide supported Luo Nan and walked inside. She indicated to her companion to quickly solve Luo Nan's problem. Mr. Hu moved 2 steps sideways like a crab. He could not walk properly. He got closer to Luo Nan and his drunken eyes swept over Luo Nan's face. At this moment, he was stunned. He suddenly reached out to grab the goggles on Luo Nan's face. Luo Nan took half a step back and avoided the grab. He frowned. Mr. Hu. Fellow student. The two guides spoke almost at the same time, but they did not know what to say. It was clear that they could not handle this chaotic situation. Mr. Hu was about to reach out, but at this moment, there was a knock on the door. The door of a room at the end of the corridor opened and a woman in a dark professional suit walked out. Seeing this person, the two guides seemed to have found their backbone. They called out at the same time, Manager Een. The lady also noticed the situation here and walked over. As she got closer, her appearance gradually appeared in the dim light. She looked to be in her 30s. She had a beautiful face and an elegant demeanor. Her exquisite makeup brought out the mature charm of a woman. Her gaze swept across Luo Nan and Mr. Hu's faces. She immediately smiled at Mr. Hu and said, Little boss, you got drunk the moment you came here. Do you think I specialize in sobering up soup? Mr. Hu was inexplicably afraid of her. He straightened his body and waved his hand. Sister Lu, I didn't mean that. Madame Een turned her face again. She wanted to say something to Luo Nan, but she saw this young man staring at her face blankly. He was clearly in a daze. Chapter 172. Kids these days. Madame Een laughed dumbly. She first asked the two guides for the results of the clearance scan. With a glance, she knew what was going on. She walked in front of the drunken Mr. Hu and separated the two of them. She said to Luo Nan, Student, this is the VIP area of Frost River reality. Judging from the clearance of your equipment, you shouldn't be here. Wait. On the other side, Mr. Hu had sobered up quite a bit. However, when he spoke hurriedly, his tongue was not as smooth as before. After saying wait a few times, he finally managed to squeeze out the rest of the sentence. That brother, you look familiar. Can you take off the mirror and take a look? Although his words were rough, the meaning behind them was surprisingly polite. Luo Nan's heart skipped a beat. He carefully looked at Mr. Hu's face and saw that the outline of his face was a bit swollen due to excessive drinking. He actually looked a bit familiar. After thinking for a bit, he took off the goggles. With just this one movement, a piece of information suddenly popped up in the corner of his memory. Senior Hu. Aha, Luo Nan, Junior Nan. Mr. Hu shook off the guide's support and came forward to give Luo Nan a hug. Luo Nan could not avoid it for fear that he would not be able to hold on and fall to the ground. Yes, Luo Nan remembered now. This Mr. Hu was the one who had brought the construction society, Yan Yongbo's lawyer, and a bunch of other people to Gear last week. He was the student council cadre who had come to visit. He was Xie Junping's best friend. Xie Junping called him Hu Sand. His real name should be Hu Huaying. According to Xie Junping, this person was a bit muddle-headed, but he was a reliable person. However, was his relationship with Hu San'er that good? On the other side, although Hu Huaying was 70 to 80% drunk, his heart was still clear. He and Luo Nan had only met once, but Xie Junping and Luo Nan were not. Hu Huaying also worked in the club activities department. He had seen everything that Xie Junping had been doing for the past week. Xie Junping had been running back and forth for Luo Nan to join the order club. Ever since they knew each other, when had he ever seen this young master so worried? Even though he was very clear about Xie Junping's sexual orientation, he couldn't help but think, could it be that this bro turned the Xie family's playboy gay? As Xie Junping's best friend, Hu Huaying was very clear about her attitude. Showing enthusiasm was just the beginning. The key was the next step. Junior brother, you have to go to class tomorrow, right? If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Are you done? Hu Huaying expressed that she had always been concerned and took the opportunity to get closer. You want to experience the VIP area, right? Actually, you could have just told me in advance. I still have some shares here. She lowered her voice and raised her voice. Of course, there's also manager Yin Lu. Junping and I call her sister. She's always taken care of us. Sister Lu, this is my junior, Luo Nan. He's very close to Junping. Luo Nan. Yin Lu stared at Luo Nan. The latter lowered his eyelids, looking a little introverted. He called out softly, Sister Lu. Hu Huaying saw that Luo Nan was too introverted and was afraid that he would feel awkward. She laughed. I made a mistake today. No matter what, since I'm here, I'll let junior brother stay in the same room as me. I'm just going to sleep anyway. Luo Nan opened his mouth but didn't say anything. His gaze returned to Yin Li's face and he couldn't look away. Yin Li smiled faintly. Her gaze swept past Hu Huaying and Luo Nan. I still have to give face to the little boss. Sister Lu, you're magnanimous. Hu Huaying laughed and pulled Luo Nan to thank Yin Lu. Luo Nan said, Thank you, Sister Lu. His eyelids lowered again. At this time, Yin Li sighed helplessly. Luo Nan, I'll call you Brother Nan. You should know how the restrictions came about. You can experience it in the VIP room, but you must take care of your body. Oh, your body hasn't recovered yet, right? I understand. Hu Huaying patted her chest and took charge. God knows if the alcohol had passed. Yin Li nodded at them. Little boss and Brother Nan, you guys have fun. There's a problem with the renovation of Sky Capital Water Village. I'll go take a look. Hu Huaying laughed. Once the branch opens, it'll be your territory once you leave the school gate. It's all for you bosses to earn money. Yin Lu shook her head and smiled. She bid farewell to the two and walked into the elevator. Before the elevator door closed, Luo Nan glanced at Yin Lu again. However, he was caught by Yin Lu. This female manager, who had an extremely outstanding appearance and style, gave Luo Nan another smile. She gently waved her hand, bidding him farewell. Then, the two guides picked the rooms and led Hu Huaying and Luo Nan to the inner part of the VIP area. According to Hu Huaying's introduction, the overall structure of the VIP area was distributed like a swarm. They were all separated luxurious rooms. Everything in the gaming area below could be found here. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. And it would only be more exquisite. The VIP rooms were like the private rooms below. However, the gaming area was integrated into it. There was also a scanning area in the room. Under the guidance of the two guides, Luo Nan re-entered this area and started scanning again. This time, all the permissions were unlocked and a new set of peripheral equipment was sent over. The two guides had gone through professional training. They stepped forward and helped Luo Nan put on the combat suit and take care of the equipment. Ever since Luo Nan could remember, he had never received the treatment of having someone help him dress. Chapter 173. Hu Huaying was still chattering away. Sister Lu is a talent in both technology and management. She was poached by the company at a high price. Apparently, she has a very powerful background. It's not like no one has tried to get her before, but they all ended up in disgrace. Luo Nan could more or less obtain some information about Yin Lu from Hu Huaying's chatter.
This was in contrast to what he learned from the Wraith sign. However, Hu Huaying quickly diverted the topic. She was eager to bring Luo Nan to experience the relatively easy-to-get kind of experience. Luo Nan's response to this was to wear a special tactical helmet peripheral to block out all of the outside world's messy information. The default option of the tactical helmet was augmented reality. The interior of the VIP arena room was designed to look like a starship. Coupled with a bit of AR technology, it was a pretty good immersive experience. However, Luo Nan soon lost his cool. The tactical helmet was gradually affecting his 5 senses to help him further enhance the experience. However, it was precisely this influence that stimulated Luo Nan's mental senses. Under the circumstances where his 5 senses were confused, his all-encompassing senses began to take over everything. Illusory and real scenes intertwined. In the end, the real side still prevailed. Under the clairvoyance of his mental senses, the light and shadow effects were revealed one by one. There was no longer any reality to speak of. Luo Nan felt a bit helpless. This was an unexpected trouble. If this trend continued, he would probably be cut off from virtual reality in the future. Hu Huaying and the 2 guides were absolutely unable to understand Luo Nan's feelings. After routinely asking a few questions about his impressions, they quietly retreated to avoid disturbing Luo Nan's immersion experience. They each did their own thing. Little did they know that Luo Nan's mental senses gave him a better understanding of their actions. The long-haired guide retreated first. The short-haired guide flirted with Hu Huaying for a while before leaving with a smile on her face. Hu Huaying's anger was ignited. It was not appropriate for her to be presumptuous beside Luo Nan. She could only laugh and curse as she went to the resting area to find a place to sleep. However, he soon received a call. It was probably one of his friends urging him to hurry up. After refusing twice, he could only helplessly get up and quietly leave the room. Just like that, Luo Nan was the only one left in the entire VIP room to carry out his boring attempts. After a few tries, he finally lost all his patience. He took off the tactical helmet and walked out of the high-class fully enclosed maglev cabin. He was lost in thought. This situation wasn't right. If it was only for normal people to use, it would be fine, but from by Xinyan and Brother Octopus. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. It was obvious that the association was involved in this project. There were a lot of mentally enhanced people like him in the association. If they all had this kind of out-of-character experience, then wouldn't the Frost River waterway become a joke? Luo Nan discovered that he might have taken a wrong path when he thought about this logic. He hurriedly looked down at his wristband and found the details of temporary privileges in the social privileges section. He then waved his hand. As expected, the system guidance with temporary authority had yet to end. It was still reminding him of the relevant location, and the target was still Frost River number 3. He should have realized it a long time ago. The authority by Xinyan gave him was clearly not compatible with the local reality system. They might not even be on the same data chain. You should have told me then. But that deputy officiant is at the side. Am I thinking too much? Luo Nan felt that he had done quite a few unnecessary things just now. When all was said and done, he lacked social experience and his vigilance was too strong. Sometimes he made things complicated. He thought about how he had asked the 2 guides to keep it a secret not too long ago. Now that he had to ask them for help, it was inevitable that he would be embarrassed again. Luo Nan could not go back to the past. He could only shake his head and walk out with his tactical helmet between his legs. Just as he walked out of the door, he remembered that there was actually a call service in the VIP room. He rolled his eyes at the sky. But at this time, the system guidance on his wristband came. It showed that the Frost River number 3 he had been searching for a long time had entered the signal link range. Do you want to activate it? Luo Nan was dumbfounded. Then he chose yes. There was a soft sound. The door of a room in front of Luo Nan opened automatically. It was originally pitch black inside, but then the lights automatically lit up. Luo Nan walked over. After he entered, the door closed automatically, isolating the inside from the outside. He felt quite emotional for a moment. He had originally come to examine his body openly. How did he end up doing it sneakily in a moment of carelessness? When the door closed, his wristband clearly vibrated, realizing the data link. The system guidance was fully activated.
A very classic virtual image of a female. In any case, it was the type that Luonan found familiar. It was projected before his eyes. Hello, Explorer Luonan. Welcome to a brand new adventure. I am your guide, Nina. According to the rules of the adventure manual, please enter the scanning area and equip yourself with the appropriate equipment. The scene guidance started just like that? Luonan confirmed that it seemed that this room, or perhaps the permission given to him by Xinyan, directly locked the game project. It did not give him the opportunity to choose. This was similar to his experience in the VIP room. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. It was not quite the same. This was nothing. Luonan followed the guide and entered the scanning area. This was the third time tonight. The scanning this time was more detailed than the previous 2 times. The duration was longer as well. It even required him to do a few sets of movements from time to time against the released demonstration video. There was no doubt that this gave off a more professional feeling. Luonan could feel that the combat suit on his body was undergoing fine adjustments according to his movements, making it more comfortable. Then should he put on the helmet that was placed aside? As he was thinking, the helmet beside him flashed with red light. The virtual guide, Nina, spoke softly. Explorer Luonan, the system has confirmed that your current tactical helmet does not meet the requirements of the adventure. It needs to be changed. Please follow the guide and perform data binding on the new helmet. At the same time, the automatic mechanical platform turned around and presented a new tactical helmet to Luonan. Luonan took it and scanned it. It seemed to be no different from the previous one just by looking at its appearance. He shook his head and put on the new helmet. But the following interface made him a bit surprised. The interface was pitch black. There was only a silver-white dot of light in front of him. The system guidance asked him to focus his attention on the dot of light. Luonan naturally did as he was told. Next, the dot of light split up. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, and they spread out to the 2 sides. Soon they turned to the limits of the range of his vision. But the system guidance still asked him to lock onto the additional dot of light. If it was a normal person, they would probably be stupefied. But for Luonan, who had grasped all-encompassing mental senses, it could not be any easier. Very naturally, he entered the level of mental senses from the basic visual senses. That's right, this was a special guide for ability users. Luonan suddenly realized. The dot of light split up into 360 dots. They covered the front, back, left, right, up, down, and so on. Luonan locked onto them one by one. Then all the dots of light converged into one. They were located right above the top of his head and pressed into his skull. Luonan's mental senses automatically cut inwards. Suddenly, countless lights and shadows appeared before his eyes. They interweaved with each other. After stabilizing, Luonan discovered that he had already entered the interior of a starship. The door that had just opened was in front of him. A metal-constructed corridor extended forward. Luonan hesitated for a moment before extending his hand to touch the opened alloy door. He saw that he was wearing a glove on his hand. The hard touch of the glove was fed back to him in an incomparably real way. Chapter 174. On the east coast of Xia City, there was a dangerous section of the Huanhai Highway. Beyond the guardrail of the highway was a cliff. Under the dark sky, the fine rain was like mist, erasing the boundary between the cliff and the sky. This Huanhai Highway was the first-class highway to be paved with magnetic pavement. In the beginning it was used as a technical practice. Later, because of its status as a classic, it gradually became the preferred choice for street racers. Although the weather was bad, the thrill-seeking racers did not mind. Sports cars sped along the highway one after another. With the help of the maglev system, they easily reached speeds of over 300 kilometers per hour. The headlights of the car were like a long sword that cut horizontally, cutting the curtain of night and the rain into pieces. They also made the cliff glisten and stand out from the hazy sea and sky. Xinyan stood at the top of the cliff, looking at the staircase road that extended into the distance. The cars racing on the road were like fireflies moving in the opposite direction, gradually becoming indistinguishable in the curtain of rain. Xia City is still the same. There's no difference between it and Luoyang City. Faced with the harsh environment after the war, It was difficult to maintain the cultural characteristics of a large metropolitan area that was built in a hurry. A high degree of homogeneity was inevitable. It was precisely in such a boring jungle of steel that the seemingly turbulent but actually monotonous structure of human nature was created. Because of this, every gifted type is worthy of special treatment, from the perspective of species diversity. Bai Xinyan had her hands in the pockets of her windbreaker. She faced the sea breeze and took a step forward. The fluttering raindrops condensed into fine ice crystals under her feet, carrying her body. Just like this, it condensed, shattered, and solidified, forming a faintly discernible ice crystal staircase. She crossed over the multi-layered road and arrived at the bottom of the cliff. There was no trace of the void behind her. Right now, Bai Xinyan was standing on a protruding platform about 10 meters above sea level. It was big enough for 2 people to stand on. On the inside of the platform, there was a recess of more than 3 meters deep and nearly 2 meters high. Traces of artificial excavation could be seen. Bai Xinyan didn't go in. She looked around and saw that there was an open waterproof metal box inside. Women's clothes were scattered messily on top of it, already soaked by the drizzle that blew in. How many years has it been since I've changed my casual lifestyle? Bai Xinyan looked away and stood on the platform, facing the sea. On one side of the sea, the rain fell like a curtain. It was a hazy scene. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. The wind and rain blew against her windbreaker, making it flutter loudly, but it didn't make her feel the slightest bit wet. Below her, among the jagged rocks, the tide was rising. Thick white foam floated on the blurry outline of the tide, swaying back and forth. Bai Xinyan gazed at the surface of the sea. After a moment, the corners of her lips curled up. The rain that fell around her once again turned into fine ice crystals. They fell onto the rocks in the tide with a rustling sound. In the time it took to take 2 or 3 breaths, the constantly swaying white foam of the tide had turned into all sorts of strange ice crystals, and the chill was still seeping into the seawater. Very soon, the reef and the half-frozen tide formed a twisted silhouette that looked like the face of a ferocious ghost. 1, Bai thought. Bang! He counted to 3. Suddenly, amidst the sound of the wind and the waves, there was a clanging sound that spread far and wide. The ghost face on the surface of the sea suddenly tore open. Correspondingly, the reef cracked and the seawater split. A slender figure broke out of the water from the middle of the crack and screamed, "Frozen, frozen to death, frozen to death." Zhang Yingying rushed out of the water. Her tight-fitting diving suit with red and black stripes showed off her good figure, but there was a layer of floating ice on her. Her loose hair was also covered with ice beads, messy and lacking in layers, which made her look a bit awkward. Her bare feet stepped on the slippery rock wall, and with a leap, she flew onto the platform. The sharp aura around her body had yet to dissipate, and as she cut through the curtain of rain, there was a hissing sound. On the platform, Bai Xinyan did not dodge. Instead, she smiled and opened her arms wide to embrace the figure that was charging at her. The camel-colored windbreaker was flipped up and covered both of them. "Ah, white salt, white salt!" Zhang Yingying was so excited that she wanted to roll around in Bai Xinyan's arms and rub off the ice droplets. Bai Xinyan, on the other hand, did not seem to care at all. She hugged the young girl in her arms tightly, and her chin rested on her hair that was covered in ice beads. She did not say anything, but she continued to smile. The excitement of meeting an old friend finally died down a little. Zhang Yingying put some distance between them. When she saw Bai Xinyan's face, she couldn't help but take a few bites. "Aha! You haven't changed at all. You've been in the lab all day, and you haven't melted." But when she truly came back to her senses, she lowered her head to look at the surface of the sea, where the chill had yet to subside. She swallowed back the words she was about to say. "Wow! How did you do it? This sort of freezing air has already far exceeded the scope of normal. You're no longer just an architect. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page." "An extraordinaire?" "Not yet. It's just a little trick. It's not the same as your white rainbow. But you, I haven't seen you for 3 years, and you've suddenly become very serious in your training." Zhang Yingying rolled her pretty eyes. Yeah. I'm making a fool of myself. I still want face." "Do you?" Bai Xinyan used her cheek to lightly rub against the young girl's delicate and slightly cool cheek. Zhang Yingying giggled. Then she asked Bai Xinyan about her plans. This time, we're in Xia City. We're going to be at least a month. How are we going to arrange our schedule? How about you live with me? We'll go play to our heart's content every day. I'm going to see the boss tomorrow morning. Then I'll deal with other matters. I also have an appointment tonight, but it's just a formality. Bai Xinyan's wristband vibrated as she spoke. She glanced at it and nodded slightly. The society has dug up quite a few new people in recent years. This scout is pretty good. Scout. Oh right. That fellow is your patient. Zhang Yingying's eyeballs swiveled. A few thoughts floated to the surface. Bai Xinyan saw this and knew that this scout was already registered with Zhang Yingying. She took the opportunity to understand the situation. The precision of this person's senses is very impressive. It's the precision direction, but it's closer to the microscopic. Why does he have the nickname Scout? This person, he really does have some talent. Zhang Yingying blinked. She was a bit baffled. You guys haven't met yet, right? How can you tell? I rely on my skills. Bai Xinyan shook her wrist, letting the data on her wristband be mapped out. Zhang Yingying could only understand a part of it, but she grasped the key information: Frost River Waterway. That fellow's nerves are damaged, and he hasn't even awakened yet. Can he hold on? TSK. Is there a need to torment him like this? Bai Xinyan smiled. When a patient receives treatment, he has to walk with two legs. One is confidence, and the other is obedience. Right now, I'm just strengthening the latter element. Zhang Yingying had a baffled expression. That fellow can be a bit jumpy at times, but he hasn't started yet, right? Yeah. He's not being disobedient. I just want to make him more obedient. Oh, pervert. Chapter 175. Luo Nen stood at the entrance of the metal passageway, experiencing the blurry boundary between illusion and reality. Nina's upper body appeared on his retina. Explorer Luo Nan, you need to make a short jump in order to infiltrate the planet's defensive perimeter. Please enter the jump pod. This scenario seemed familiar. The last time he was tricked into coming here by Mo Han, it was more or less the same. Luo Nan walked into the open metal passageway. The light gradually dimmed. At the end of the passageway, the operating console flickered with light. He could see the stars in the depths of space through the circular window. Behind the operating console was a classic high-back starship chair. Luo Nan walked over and sat down. Through Nina's guidance, he adjusted the equipment on the operating console one by one and revised the parameters. All of this was done to help the player adapt to the virtual environment, to minimize the influence of reality to the greatest extent. Luo Nan used his picky eyes to inspect the feeling of his fingertips, the changes in lighting, and the shifting of angles, but it was hard to find any obvious flaws. This degree of realism had already exceeded the limits of reality for the public. It should be due to the mental guidance that had been carried out before. Everything was ready. The window displayed the meaningless coordinates of the adventure area. Nina's voice rang out once more. Please close your eyes and grasp your balance. Resist the dizziness from the short jump. The adventure begins. Luo Nan's body trembled slightly. A peculiar vortex of light appeared in front of the jump pod. The pod started and accelerated. The force of inertia pushed Luo Nan to the back of the chair, and the world spun and flipped. Luo Nan instinctively closed his eyes. The noise of electromagnetism and machinery, as well as the sound of an alarm in the distance, were exceptionally clear. Another jolt followed right after. The feeling of accelerated rotation suddenly disappeared, and the force of inertia flung him out fiercely. What welcomed him was an ice-cold stream of water. A muffled boom rang out and water splashed in all directions. Just as the pain arrived, an even deeper chill penetrated his bones. This was, without a doubt, a rough landing. In the Frost River Channel, the moment one fell represented the complete transformation from reality to virtual. The vast majority of the participants' perception was produced by the stimulation of the nervous system by electrical signals. Luo Nan's experience was more realistic than the vast majority of the participants. Compared to the miserable experience from before, this reality was much more realistic. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. Reality was still precious. He opened his eyes and stood up from the water. His surroundings were still pitch black, but there was a faint light flickering at the edge of his vision. The water below was up to his knees. The current wasn't slow, and it was bone-chilling cold. There were also broken pieces of ice floating on the surface of the water. When they bumped into him, he felt a slight pain. At this moment, the communication device on his collar vibrated slightly. Nina's slightly urgent voice rang out, mixed with some chaotic background noise, continuing to make the environment more real. Explorer Luo Nan, you've just experienced a failed short-range jump. Your combat uniform is damaged to a certain degree. Please take note of the relevant report. For now, please investigate the surrounding situation and send back the relevant information so that we can guide the next step. Before he could finish his sentence, a rustling noise came from the communicator. A strange voice said, "Welcome to the Frost River Bar. Please follow the waterway all the way. We have prepared wine for our guests to warm up." Nina's voice cut in again. "It seems that there are other people here. You can go on an unplanned adventure. Please take note." From the information sent back, the water of the waterway has been mixed with a strange substance. The water temperature has already reached below freezing point. Please move your body to avoid freezing. From this moment on, the challenge of the Frost River waterway began. According to the rules of Frost River reality, the winner of the challenge would enter the Frost River Bar, obtain a prize, leave their game ID, and enter the global rankings. Luo Nan just didn't know what the result of this ability user version would be. Luo Nan followed the route indicated by the tactical helmet. He went against the flow of the water and advanced. The Frost River waterway mission was to test the adaptability of the player's body under the stimulation of a low-temperature environment. Although Luo Nan had tried it once, he had been defeated early on. He did not truly understand the situation inside. He only knew that the length of the waterway was very vague. Some said it was 1,500 meters. Some said it was 3,000 meters. Frost River Reality had never released the actual data, but it was clear that the waterway was divided into 3 sections. In other words, there were 3 levels of difficulty. The first phase of entering the waterway was about 500 meters. The test was whether the player could maintain the activity of the body under the stimulation of the cold. The middle phase was 500 to 1,000 meters. It involved techniques such as holding one's breath, diving, underwater recognition, and so on. As for the final phase, the length was not determined. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. It involved extremely high-level techniques. It was a test for professional extreme survivalists. Last time, Luo Nan was only able to persist for 100 meters. He could not endure it and was kicked into protective mode. His result was quite embarrassing. Chapter 176. Luo Nan leaned against the back of the chair. His hands and feet were powerless for a time. His body needed a certain amount of time to adjust to the changes in the external stimuli. Right now, a hologram was erected in front of him. The central region was a playback of the video. It displayed the details of his actions in the Frost River waterway from multiple perspectives. There was no need to elaborate on his sorry state. All sorts of data appeared around the playback. Many of them were specialized terms. Luo Nan didn't really understand them. Even if he understood, it was hard to understand a project that had been completely digitized. He didn't know what level it represented, whether it was good or bad, due to the lack of comparison. Luckily, he discovered that there was a rather shallow conclusion at the lower center of the hologram. The challenger's body is weak, but he possesses outstanding sensory precision. He is a precision-oriented, mentally enhanced. However, he lacks the corresponding information processing skills. He lacks control over his body. He remains in the instinctive stage. Information processing skills? Control? Luo Nan recalled the experience he had just experienced. He had received a lot of information, but that was all. All of his nerve impulses and related reactions were still carried out according to his body's functions. They were carried out step by step. There really wasn't much control. He was quite convinced by this evaluation. Obtaining information was one thing, but processing and controlling it was another. Luo Nan knew that the temperature control center of the human body was located in the hypothalamus. He also knew the relationship between the relevant control areas and the type and nature of the neurotransmitters secreted. He also possessed the corresponding soul strength. It was enough to interfere with the material plane and give sufficient stimulation to the corresponding nervous tissues. But he really didn't know what to do if he let Luo Nan control it. This wasn't something that could be realized with just a thought. If he really did it, what would be the priority? It must be known that the hypothalamus was an important area for regulating the internal organs and endocrine activity. If the stimulation was inappropriate, it wouldn't just be a matter of losing the challenge. He might even play himself to death on the spot. Luo Nan sighed. He looked at his sorry state a few more times and chose to challenge once more. Bai Xinyan wanted him to try many times before. She gave him 2 hours of time. Only a quarter of the time had passed. He still had to practice. The problem was that nothing much had changed when he entered the Frost River waterway once more. The icy water of the Frost River waterway was fine. Please continue to the next page. What gave Luo Nan a headache was the rapid flow of water and the enormous chunks of ice that came crashing down from time to time, as well as other debris. Under the influence of the numbness caused by the cold, Luo Nan simply didn't have the leeway to dodge. He could only fail again and again. Luo Nan's dispirited thoughts were accumulating. He wasn't afraid of failure, but he was very vexed by the feeling of powerlessness that came from being unable to fix his own problems. He had practiced a few times, but he collapsed in the first 500 meters every time. It was the same problem every time. What was the point of trying again? The accumulated emotions had already caused his soul strength to go a bit out of control. Luo Nan simply chose to withdraw. The sealed magnetic cabin opened, and the luxurious high-back chair was restored. Luo Nan sat on the chair and was stunned for a moment. He smashed the armrest heavily and ignored the system notification. He took off his helmet and prepared to take a good breath. But the moment he took off his helmet, all the indicator lights around the high-back chair he was sitting on went off. The guide, Nina, disappeared, but the lights in the room lit up. The atmosphere of business was completely destroyed. His wristband vibrated again, and the system prompted, "You have voluntarily exited the system. Temporary authority has been turned off." Luo Nan was stupefied. He looked at his watch again. Not even half of the 2-hour time limit had passed. He just wanted to take a breather. Who would have thought that the system would turn off so simply? This kind of authority was really too much of a scam. Looking at it from another angle, that Ms. Bai probably didn't plan on giving people the option to rest midway. From the looks of it, that person's temperament wasn't that easy to deal with. Luo Nan's heart spontaneously gave birth to vigilance. He was like a mischievous student facing a strict teacher. And very unfortunately, he did a terrible job on the first assignment that this teacher assigned. His first impression of her had probably been completely destroyed. Luo Nan was a bit troubled, but it was too late for regrets now. The temporary authority had failed, and the illuminated lights revealed a sense of alienation. He could only leave. At this time, the automated mechanical platform rotated to his side. This meant that he had to leave the special tactical helmet behind. Luo Nan was a bit reluctant to part with the helmet when he thought about the difference in experience. This made the regret in his heart grow a step further. Luo Nan hesitated for a moment. He didn't return it for the time being. Instead, he walked back to the scanning area and picked up the other helmet that was placed there. He grabbed one helmet in each hand. This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page. He waved his hands. On the surface, there was really no difference between the two. If Luo Nan hadn't gone to Hu Huaying's VIP room first and had an unsuccessful experience, he probably wouldn't have thought that a difference in equipment would cause such a huge difference in experience. But since he had already found the problem, why not continue to put in a bit of effort and thoroughly figure out what the difference was between the two helmets? Luo Nan couldn't restrain his curiosity. He adjusted the precision of his senses, and his soul strength penetrated the interior of the helmet. He knew nothing about the field of precision electronics, but the design and structure of the two helmets were practically the same. This gave him a standard of reference. With this comparison there were some results. Luo Nan followed his mental senses to compare one area after another. Soon, he discovered that there was a compartment on the helmet of Frost River No. 3 that was roughly stuck to the top of the helmet. There was a chipset installed there. The helmet brought out from Hu Huaying's VIP room also had a similar compartment, but it didn't have a chipset. Clearly, this was where the difference lay. Luo Nan put on the tactical helmet once more, and his consciousness cut in.
Right now, there was no system guidance, but the more it was like this, the more fundamental things could appear. He noticed the energy and information roaming within the chip while it was in a charged state. Looking at the material structure, the scale of the energy and information was several orders of magnitude smaller than the cells of the human body. However, the soul's sensitivity towards energy and information was clearly higher. It didn't need to interfere with the material plane to be able to perceive and read the information with relative clarity. Luo Nan was able to detect that the chipset within the helmet of Frost River No. 3 was processing energy and information. It was a very familiar structure. It was extremely familiar. Luo Nan thought back a bit and determined the source of this familiar feeling. Jack, the dynamo core, the Tower of Babel. Yes, the operating form of energy and information within the chipset was relatively crude and rigid. However, the mode of exchange and transformation of information was undoubtedly the Tower of Babel structure that Jack had displayed that night. A certain segment. Even if it was transplanted into the chip, the operating mode of energy and information was essentially the same. Hiss, this was really unexpected. Chapter 177. The reproduction of a portion of the dynamo core's functions? Luo Nan came to this conclusion and was somewhat stunned. He lacked a complete understanding of the origins of the dynamo core. He had more of a guess from the conversation between Jack and Yen Yonghua. This sort of thing should be a cutting-edge product produced by the Apocalypse laboratory behind Quantum Corporation. It possessed overwhelming control over electronic devices. It was a key technology of the fourth-generation burner and could be applied to altered humans. Through special application methods, it could completely break the boundaries between altered humans and burners. For example, Jack. Such sensitive technology had suddenly appeared in Frost River reality, a virtual attraction project for the masses. Moreover, it had appeared in such a special segment. Even if it was just a small segment, even if the government, the military, the Ability User Society, and various technology companies were all involved, it was still hard to believe that this was just a coincidence of heroes having the same idea. Was it a repeated experiment hidden within the project? Or was the Apocalypse laboratory also involved in the project? Did the society know about this situation? The series of questions made Luo Nan a bit stupefied. It seemed that he had once again stepped into some muddy water. Of course, as long as he could face the truth, he was more than happy to do so. Luo Nan muttered to himself as he weighed the chip helmet a few times. His eyes gradually lit up. He certainly could not take this helmet away. He certainly could not dig out the chipset inside, but he had a more perfect substitute. His dynamo core, the external neuron. Luo Nan had never used his own dynamo core to build the Tower of Babel. He was worried that his body would not be able to withstand it and he would end up like Jack. But now he had a complete set of peripherals for Frost River reality. He used the dynamo core's dominance over electronic equipment. The two combined to recreate the immersive virtual experience specifically provided for ability users. It would not be a big problem. The experience was a small matter. If he could dig out some deep information from it, then that would be a huge harvest. Luo Nan could no longer endure it. He could not use Frost River No. 3, but it was fine. He could change locations. He immediately threw away the chip helmet, hugged his original equipment, and strode out the door. Frost River No. 3 immediately closed behind him, unable to be opened again. He did not care. He quickly walked back to Hu Huaying's VIP room. The facilities here were still in an active state. The room was empty. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Alone. Luo Nan took a deep breath and walked onto the high-back starship chair. He put on the tactical helmet that was missing a crucial chipset and connected it to the system. For aptitude users, without the mental guidance function of the chipset, the so-called tactical helmet was just a clumsy toy. They could not control the penetration of mental senses at all. All the virtual scenes became a joke. But this time, Luo Nan was neither impatient nor impatient. His thoughts stirred within this disordered light and shadow. The external neuron that had been hiding between the left and right thalamus, at the location of the central mass, extended noiselessly. It pierced into the area of the chip. It sensed a bit, and the structure automatically forked, docking with the reserved interface. Energy and information converged and operated. The process was clearly displayed, and the structure was not much different. However, it was 100 times, 1,000 times more exquisite than a chipset simulation. And the amount of energy and information it could carry and process was also hundreds or even thousands of times more.
Luonan felt his helmet heat up. Compared to the dynamo core's almost limitless processing power, the helmet itself was a bit unable to hold on. But this wasn't a big problem. At this very moment, Luonan's mental senses no longer expanded outwards. Instead, he found a direction to entrust his mental senses to. It was just like the feeling of storing his soul strength within the dynamo core, unable to bear the heavy burden of the past few days. It was just that the inside of the dynamo core was empty before. It was like a deep and silent void. But now it had color and structure. And layer upon layer, it grew more and more gorgeous, gradually forming a world. Luonan's consciousness wandered within, sensing in detail. This kind of guidance was much stronger than those divided specks of light. And it wasn't like the chip, which was always separated by a layer. Instead, it was completely and thoroughly touching. It was truly wholehearted immersion. What would happen? In a flash of thought, his mind was completely immersed. It was as if time had flowed backward. When Luonan came back to his senses, he was already back in the jump pod. He was facing the operating console and the circular window. The pressure of the combat uniform, the weight of the helmet, and the support of the high-back chair were all transmitted back to the central nervous system through the sensors all over his body. They interweaved with the scene before his eyes, which was indistinguishable from reality and illusion. Luonan was completely brought into this marvelous world. At this very moment, there was no system guidance. There were only two graphical options on the circular window before his eyes. Luonan's scalp went slightly numb the instant he saw the graphic. The graphic on the right was a simple sphere. This chapter has yet to end. Please turn the page. And the one on the left was the one he was the most familiar with. The visualization graphic, the format pyramid. Perhaps he had been in a daze for too long, but the system finally spoke once more. It was still Nina's clear female voice. Do you need a novice guide? Yes. Please select the activity mode. 1. Archetype mode. 2. Optional mode. Following Nina's instructions, the visualization graphic and the sphere lit up one after another on the circular window, indicating which was the archetype and which was the optional mode. Archetype, huh? Luonan felt a bit awkward, but a certain excitement of being able to peek into a great secret heavily bombarded his heart. He felt strands of cold air seep through the gaps of his teeth. His gaze involuntarily locked onto the most familiar graphic. Select Archetype mode. The visualization graphic lit up and shifted to the center of his field of vision. The other sphere gradually faded away. At the same time, a certain man's deep voice rang in Luonan's ears. In a certain sense, every person is a pile of molecular polymers. And every person's life process is the oxidation process of this pile of molecular polymers. The human body itself is in the midst of combustion. Luonan felt a trembling electric current run through his spine when he heard these words. A layer of goosebumps covered his entire body. He nearly jumped out of his chair for a moment. But another force made him motionless. The deep male voice continued, the combustion of ordinary people is inefficient, whether it's production, storage, or utilization. It limits our body structure, affects our lifespan, and through heredity, affects our form of existence for generations to come. But as the mysteries of life are explored in depth, it is hard for people to be satisfied with this kind of inefficient mode. People unceasingly try to improve it. Muscles, bones, internal organs, nerves, genes, consciousness. Traces of technological transformation are left behind in every domain. Yet they are fragmented and not systematic. This continues until people choose a completely new structural system to truly integrate the fragmented results together. The visualization graphic enlarged in Luonan's field of vision. Countless lines interweaved, outlining the outlines of bones, internal organs, nerves, and muscles. Then they pieced together to form a complete human body. The human body was placed within the visualization graphic and sat majestically. This is the burner that transcends human tradition. This is the embodiment of a certain direction of evolution. Chapter 178. Luonan experienced another failed teleportation and returned to the Frost River waterway with a rumbling sound. The rapid flow of water and debris flooded his body, bringing a bone-piercing chill. Luonan did not immediately stand up. Instead, he pressed his head, which was wearing the tactical helmet, into the water. He used the cold and rapid flow of water to clear his head. When he decided to use the dynamo core to replace the chipset and connect with the frozen star system of Frost River reality, it was hard for him to imagine that he would dig up information to this degree. It turned out that the temporary authority Bai Xinyan gave him did not touch upon the core of this virtual reality project. It was only when the antennae of the external neuron touched upon the lowest level of the frozen star system that he was able to see its deep mysteries. Simulating a burner. A burner simulator. Frost River reality, which was loved by young people, had this kind of function. Okay, this was completely within reason. The government and the military were involved, and it was a huge project like virtual reality. It was very normal to borrow the chicken to lay the egg, to do some model construction, actual combat deduction, and so on. However, this kind of optimization that was specifically targeted at ability users and burners, as well as the technological methods used, really made one's imagination run wild. Luo Nan was already used to skipping over the familiar plot guide, so he did not pay too much attention to it. He just pondered over his current state, wanting to see what was different in the end. Suddenly, Nina's warning streaked across his ears. Please pay attention to the internal energy reserves of the archetype format. Allocate your energy properly and avoid freezing. Ha! The lines changed? Luo Nan suddenly realized something. He still remembered that Nina's guide process was to indicate that his combat uniform was damaged and that the water in the waterway was abnormal. Then she said, "Please move your body sufficiently to avoid freezing." What the hell was this internal energy reserves that suddenly popped out? The scene on his retina changed as this thought flashed through his mind. A thick, white U-shaped symbol appeared in the lower left corner, reminding Luo Nan of his attention. When Luo Nan's gaze was focused on the U-shaped symbol, the deep and low background explanation rang out once more. Through the introduction of the archetype format, burners transcend the traditional inefficient combustion mechanism of humans. They fully convert and utilize the internal energy of the human body to obtain a higher utilization efficiency. When the explanation rang out, the U-shaped symbol changed color. It changed from its initial white color to red, orange, and green. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Red, blue, purple, and then return to the original white. During this period, the colors in the U-shaped logo kept rising and falling, revealing the most important information in a visual way. Luo Nan combined the relevant text with the explanation and soon understood the meaning within. Burners could utilize the archetype format to continuously transform, store, and increase the internal energy of the human body. The water level within the U-shaped symbol was the amount of internal energy reserves that could be utilized. And the color changes of the spectrum were the energy forms arranged from low to high efficiency. There were a total of 6 levels. It was obvious that when a burner's internal energy reserves were very close, the key factor that determined the level of their abilities lay in the form of energy. C. The chemical energy naturally generated in the body of a strong man weighing 100 kilograms combined with the mechanical energy produced by his muscles was a joke compared to the antimatter annihilation reaction created by a strand of a baby's fetal hair. Of course, this comparison itself was a joke. But this was the secret of the burner's power, or at least a very important part of it. Luo Nan stood up straight. The ice-cold water continued to wash over him without end, causing the temperature of his body to rapidly decrease. He didn't move. Instead, he waited. Where was the internal energy reserves? Where was the archetype format? Even though his body was within a game system, Luo Nan didn't believe that he was simply playing a game. The so-called internal energy reserves and archetype format shouldn't be concepts set up by the game. They shouldn't be labeled as data. There must be some sort of concrete experience, even though the method he used to enter this place wasn't very standard. BZZT BZZT BZZT. A strange noise rang out. The scene displayed on Luo Nan's retina and the background explanation by his ear became a bit fuzzy. It was clear that there was a strong interference. The interference passed in the span of a second or two. But whether it was the background explanation or Nina's system guidance, there was no follow-up. There was only the singing that came from the radio waves of the Frost River bar in the distance. It mixed with the clamor towards Luo Nan, who was within the waterway, and it called out, "I used the fine wine of my memories to fan the flames, to solidify her within the layer of ice.
Luo Nan could feel the top of his head lightly vibrate amidst the cold and intermittent singing. A numb and crisp feeling spread from top to bottom, layer by layer, from the top of his head. Please continue to the next page if this chapter doesn't end. It gradually spread to his shoulders, neck, chest, back, waist, and legs. In the end, it converged to the soles of his feet. During this time, his brain, spinal cord, and even the 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves all transmitted fine feedback. Moreover, this spurred the nearly 1,000 bones, muscles, and even the billions of blood vessels and fibers in his entire body to form an innumerable signal that was transmitted back to the central nervous system of his brain. Luo Nan wanted to distinguish these signals one by one, to clearly understand the meaning contained within, and to instantly make the correct response. Even if Luo Nan's brain was transformed into a supercomputer, he still wouldn't necessarily be able to do it. But when these signals swarmed over and circled around the external neuron, they instantly separated into a marvelous order. Some were a bit stronger, some were a bit weaker. Some were a bit more urgent. Some were a bit more relaxed. If Luo Nan were to clarify their respective positions and arrange them in a dense manner, it would be like drawing. Different shades of lines and shadows would instantly combine to form a direct and deep structural whole. Next, Luo Nan's consciousness naturally sprouted, directly embedding itself into the center of gravity that dominated the structural balance. Driven by some marvelous thought, Luo Nan sat back down in the water. He assumed the double-coiled body posture and his entire body was fixed at the bottom of the river. From the top of his head to the two sides, his shoulders, his elbows, and his knees formed two perfectly straight diagonal lines. They connected to the bottom of the river, forming a stable pyramid structure. The rapid scouring of the water pounced onto his head in an instant. The powerful pressure from the outside world was transmitted in layer by layer, transforming into energy and information. It was transmitted between the millions and millions of nerves, blood vessels, and fiber tissues. In the end, it formed a weak but just right stimulation. It was like a tiny spark that was thrown into the center of gravity where Luo Nan's consciousness was located. It was as if he had thrown himself into a deep pool filled with kerosene. Boom! The flames leaped and soared, practically engulfing everything. Of course, this wasn't a true fire. It could only be said that the pouring of his consciousness had magnified this feeling. But when Luo Nan's consciousness shifted away and he sensed normally, there was clearly a mass of warm energy radiating from his lower abdomen. It was at this moment that the pure white water level of the U-shaped symbol on his retina suddenly dropped. It dropped all the way to a third of its original value before it barely stopped falling. But it still trembled endlessly. The momentum didn't look too good, but Luo Nan could feel a sense of control and acuity that corresponded with his body's sensations. Chapter 179. Luo Nan opened his eyes, but he still maintained his sitting posture. He let the penetrating cold water flow shatter the ice and continuously beat against his chest. Occasionally, a cold blade splashed out. It seemed to be able to penetrate the defense of the tactical helmet and directly cut his face. It also seemed to be releasing mocking whispers. What's appearing in your body right now? What's jumping? What appeared was the archetype format. What jumped was the format of fire. Luo Nan did not immediately jump down from the starship high-back chair. He had already expected this result. He was even looking forward to it. If it was a week or two ago, he might have refused this opportunity out of some sort of self-esteem. But when he used the format of My Heart's a Prison, to subdue the human-faced arachnid, to construct the format pyramid, to enter the out-of-body state, and to observe reality and illusion, many of his thoughts were greatly different. Only when a person had a firm foothold could they use an unhurried and objective attitude to face the problems of reality. Luo Nan was already convinced that the formatting theory he had inherited did indeed have practical effects. It was not inferior to the archetype format in any way. It was even more magical on the mental plane. But he also admitted that the archetype format had gone very deep into the development and application of the body's potential. It had already established a relatively complete system standard. It was an extremely amazing thing to be able to successfully reproduce it in the virtual reality system. What he needed to do right now was to dig deep into the mysteries within. From the archetype format itself to the source of reproduction and technology, he would not let a single strand slip by. The water level of the U-shaped symbol continued to fluctuate and fall, showing that Luo Nan's internal energy reserves were continuously being consumed. However,
This consumption had already shown its value. Right now, the temperature manifested by the internal energy in Luo Nan's lower abdomen was very real. Even under the pressure of the cold, it still firmly wrapped around his abdomen, causing his entire internal organs to feel a bit warm. Luo Nan got up and moved his hands and feet a bit. The effects of the internal energy manifesting were even more obvious under the state of movement. The energy of his entire body had an axis. Admittedly, heat was being consumed at all times, but a considerable portion was controlled, circulated, and flowed through the axis. It flowed from his upper limbs to his lower limbs, from places with high heat to places with low heat. It was naturally and efficiently distributed, maintaining the normal functions of the body. Luo Nan felt as if the outer layer of his skin and flesh had formed an armor propped up by heat. The bone-piercing cold didn't seem that unbearable anymore. Yes, that's it. This was the same nervous system control effect that Luo Nan had tried repeatedly in Frost River Room 3. But when it comes to the precision of the hypothalamus, if this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. When it came to complex structures, he gave up because he wasn't confident. But now, through internal energy and the archetype format, everything was done easily and naturally. When Luo Nan observed from the perspective of a bystander, he was able to sense that the front and back areas of the hypothalamus were stimulated, as well as the hot and cold sensors that cover the entire body. They coordinated and stimulated the tissues of the body up, down, inside, and outside in a highly resonant manner. They transported heat to and fro, forming a fine heat net that covered the entire body. The nerves, blood vessels, muscle fibers, and even more secretive and fine conduction pathways were involved. Compared to Luo Nan's own imagination, this regulation method was more than 1,000 times more complicated. However, this method of regulation was not brain-burning. All he needed to do was think about it and send out an unclear command. The archetype format completed all of this with the support of the internal energy reserve. Luo Nan began to walk forward with large strides. The effects of the heat armor were extremely outstanding. Even though the water level of the waterway gradually rose and the surface of contact between the ice water and his body grew larger and larger, his body's reactions became more and more sensitive. He could easily avoid the enormous floating ice that was washed down by the rapid current. He could also feel the rapid and unstable undercurrents, controlling his body in time to maintain his balance. Soon, he walked 200 to 300 meters away, far exceeding all previous records. It's really important to have a good software. Luo Nan suddenly felt a bit emotional. Because of the existence of the archetype format, he didn't need to directly face the complex and precise nervous system. Instead, he could use his internal energy to control it and realize idiot-like operations. He could focus more of his energy on responding to external stimuli. Luo Nan's self-format was the same. Did he know how to control the human-faced arachnid? Did he know how to increase his believers? He didn't know a single thing. Even if he had 10 times the strength he had right now, he would still need to personally experience all the details. He would need to dig all the way from the application all the way to the bottom layer. He would need to complete every link perfectly. But because he had the format pyramid of My Heart's a Prison, everything became easy. All he needed to do was to unearth the potential of the format pyramid, provide it with the required energy, and experiment with more efficient application methods. That was all. The current situation was quite interesting. The majority of Luo Nan's self-format targeted the soul and the mental plane. It didn't have any special effects on the fleshly body. The archetype format mobilized the potential of the human body to a large degree. It fully realized the control and application of various parts of the human body. But in the mental domain, the results could only be described as mediocre from the various examples he had seen recently. What were the factors that caused these two to be? This chapter has yet to end. Please continue to the next page. How could there be such a large divergence in the theory of originating from the same source? Thinking a step further, if the two were to be combined, would it be possible to create a formatting software that could be used simultaneously on the mental and material planes? Luo Nan was unable to find an answer for a time, but he was very clear on one point. Right now, he could only be said to be in contact with the archetype format software for the first time. His body hadn't truly formed the archetype format. The reason was very simple. The stimulation the archetype format gave his body right now, whether it was the operation of his brain and spinal cord, or the arrangement of the 43 cranial nerves and spinal nerves, all of them were different from his own format. The two were similar in design concept, but the details and emphasis were completely different. They could be compared, but they couldn't be confused. What he sensed right now was nothing more than the stimulation the system gave him. In essence, it was just like the incessant pounding of the icy stream of water. It was just some sort of data model projected onto his body. Though its effects were real, and it really did stir up a portion of his strength, transforming his internal energy reserves and igniting the format of fire, its foundation was still empty. Luo Nan wasn't disappointed. The archetype format wasn't something he could casually use when it came to the modification of the deeper mechanisms of the body. It was already beyond his imagination that he could experience it for himself. The majority of Luo Nan's attention was projected onto his own body. His perception of the outside world gradually blurred. The only thing he could experience was the depth of the water. Right now, the icy water had already gradually submerged his chest, followed by his neck. Walking normally was practically impossible. Luckily, Luo Nan knew a bit about water, so he was able to walk and swim. But in this way, he had completely lost his grasp of time and distance. Right now, had he traveled 500 meters? Right when Luo Nan was about to look for the system to confirm, he felt a void beneath his feet. The tip of his toes could no longer reach the bottom. From here on out, the depth of the water exceeded his height. This was fine, but the problem was that the thick layer of rock above the water's surface was already within reach. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before the water completely submerged this long passageway. Not even the slightest crack would be left. The second stage? Right when Luo Nan was considering how to pass through this stage, a rumbling sound rang out. The rock wall behind him collapsed, and another stream of water rushed out. The two streams of water collided, forming a vortex of extraordinary strength. It instantly sucked him in and flung him fiercely, smashing him against the uneven cliff wall. He was smashed stupidly on the spot. His tactical helmet was damaged, and the icy stream assaulted him. What hot net? What armor? None of it was of any use. Luo Nan's consciousness fainted, and the world shifted in an instant. Chapter 180. I failed again. But the difficulty has clearly increased. That's right, it's specially designed for burners. Luo Nan withdrew from the Frost River waterway. He didn't plan on continuing the experience for the time being. He just sat on the high-back starship chair and squinted his eyes. He felt the discomfort of his body after the stimulation signals left his body one after another. Even without the scouring pressure of the icy water, his body seemed to have become several dozen kilograms heavier. The coordination of his various parts seemed to have problems. His entire body was like an old machine without oil. His joints were a bit stiff. There was also the soreness and twitching caused by the tearing of some of his muscle fibers. This was the contrast caused by the separation of the archetype formats model. The amount of discomfort he felt right now was proof of the large gap between his body's standards and that of a passing standard. Only after a minute did Luo Nan begin to move his fingers. He regained control of his suddenly unfamiliar body. An analytical light screen had already been erected in front of the high-back chair at this time. It displayed the factors of success and failure in this waterway adventure in an unending stream. Luo Nan habitually looked at the evaluation first. The evaluation on it was unprecedentedly harsh. As a burner, the basic archetype format has made an unbelievably low-level error. The distribution of internal energy is at the beginner level. The coordination between the body and internal energy is close to zero. It is recommended that the format be immediately examined for errors and undergo strict foundational training. If necessary, the format should be reforged. It's that bad. Luo Nan rubbed his head. He couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps it was because the system's requirements had suddenly increased by a lot according to the standards of a burner. Then a three-dimensional image of a full body appeared on the holographic screen. Red and green dots of light and blue and white lines marked the densely packed nodes and silhouettes. The red dots representing errors could be said to be ghastly to the eye. Luo Nan was a bit surprised by this. Since it's a template chosen for the dynamo core, how come there are so many errors? He casually chose a red on his chest and several dots in the surrounding area lit up. It even involved another set of nodes far away in his legs. It showed that there was a very systematic connection between them. And on the holographic screen to the side, a close-up of the corresponding area appeared. There was a clear diagram on it, showing the internal energy as the axis. The relevant energy and information flowed, converged, and transformed within the special structure of this area. This included mutual interference, and even the material layer. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. The facial nerves, blood vessels, muscle fibers, bones, and internal organs were directly or indirectly affected. Even though Luo Nan didn't fully understand many of the models and formulas, he had the basic concept of the circulation of energy and information. He was able to more or less guess many of the parts. It was hard and strenuous for him to read for a time, but he enjoyed it with keen interest. Very quickly, he found the problem. No wonder there were so many errors. Many of the nodes on the archetype format were actually affected by the interference of the self format. They were misaligned or confused. Even though Luo Nan had deliberately distinguished between the problems of the virtual world and the real world, he had formed his instincts over the past 5 years. His soul strength had increased greatly in recent days, and his imprints had continued to deepen. These imprints could not be easily erased. It could be seen from the playback system that the archetype format model had transformed in less than half a minute after it covered Luo Nan's body. Many key nodes had been displaced, and the virtual format of fire had yet to ignite. What was strange was that he was still able to successfully ignite the first time when many pairs of nerve wiring were disrupted and distorted. What kind of logic was this? Luo Nan subconsciously pressed his hand against his lower abdomen. He didn't know if it was because of the heat conduction from his palm or something else, but he actually faintly felt that there really was a bit of warmth in this position. It gathered and did not disperse. Oh, strange. Luo Nan was puzzled no matter how he thought about it. He could only continue to refer to the system's analysis and playback in search of the reason. But as he watched and watched, he was faced with the comprehensive, thorough, and all-encompassing analysis screen. He was a bit stunned. Just this error correction system alone was something that his current, family workshop style of research on the format was absolutely incapable of reaching. With such a system, with such timely and accurate simulation, playback, and error correction methods, as long as one had a bit of talent and knowledge in this area and was able to put in hard work, it would be very difficult for one not to succeed over the years. No wonder the Deep Blue Walkers had already gathered the scale of 4 or 5 divisions in a short 5 or 6 years. And they were still continuing to expand. The archetype format theory had indeed soared to the skies in one bound after obtaining the support of capital and political power. The possibility of realizing a counterattack against it in the current social context was close to zero. As expected, I can only expand my influence in the ability user society. This chapter is not finished. Please continue to the next page. I've made some progress as a psychic or as a scout, but it's far from enough. It's far from enough. Luo Nan was a bit distracted. It was also at this time that his wristband vibrated. He received a call. It was Emo Chio. Third brother? Nanster, where are you? Emo Chio went straight to the point. Luo Nan was a bit startled. I'm upstairs. Where are you upstairs? Forget it. You can come down now. Actually, Emo Chio didn't care where Luo Nan was. He let out a long breath when he got through to him. Come to the guide desk in the reception hall. I'll wait for you here. Third brother, what's going on? It's nothing. Peng 17 just played with fire and overreacted a bit. I think it's best to go home and rest early. Hurry up and come down. Oh, okay. The two hung up and Luo Nan frowned. This third brother Chio was clearly lying. His words contained a forceful calmness. He probably didn't want a kid like him to worry. But the nervousness in his words had long since sold him out. What happened? Luo Nan's mind spun a few times, but he didn't tarry. He took off his peripheral equipment and walked out of the VIP room. As he was about to close the door, he remembered that Hu Huaying was the one treating. According to etiquette, he should at least give her a heads up. But he didn't give her a way to contact him. Luo Nan shook his head and walked quickly to the elevator. Not long after, he saw the two pretty guides. The long-haired and short-haired guides revealed sweet smiles. They raised their hats playfully from afar. Hello, officer. Luo Nan nodded in response. He walked closer and said to the two, when Senior Hu comes over, you guys tell him that I have business to attend to. I'll be leaving first. The short-haired guide opened her eyes wide. Officer Luo, aren't you going to play a bit longer?
It hasn't even been an hour. No, I have business to attend to. Luo Nan nodded to the two and walked toward the elevator. The two guides looked at each other when they saw Luo Nan's hurried appearance. They bowed in unison. We will definitely pass on your message. The elevator's door rang and opened to the side. Luo Nan was just about to enter when he saw 4 or 5 people walking out, laughing and laughing. They all looked drunk. One of them was Hu Huaying. Chapter 181. Luo Nan saw Hu Huaying, and Hu Huaying also saw Luo Nan. This bro's heat had yet to subside. She immediately staggered forward, patted Luo Nan's shoulder, and hugged him. Junior Nan, what's up? Playing by yourself is boring? I just happened to bring a bunch of brothers over. Let's start the game together and play Wilderness? Or something more exciting? It's okay, Senior Hu. My friend has something to do over there. Let me go down. I'll be taking my leave first. Luo Nan was polite. He didn't want to get tangled up with this drunkard. Hu Huaying blinked her eyes. Her mind was still not clear. My friend invited me over to play. We're all very familiar with each other. I usually play with Junping. He raised his hand, wanting to introduce them one by one, but Luo Nan grabbed his forearm. Luo Nan locked gazes with Luo Nan and spoke softly. No need, Senior. There will be opportunities in the future. Ah. Hu Huaying was suddenly at a loss for words. After a few, sounds, she finally knew how to respond. That's fine too. A few other drunkards surrounded the entrance of the elevator at this time. They had long since sized Luo Nan up. Most of them had no interest in him, but they were more interested in the two charming guides. Luo Nan gave Hu Huaying another nod. He turned his body and squeezed past this group of people. The person in the middle was probably drunk to the point of numbness. His body wasn't nimble. He bumped into Luo Nan's shoulder and staggered. His eyes widened as he wanted to flip out, but he was pulled away by the person beside him, making a path for himself. It wasn't Hu Huaying who pulled him away, but another acquaintance. Luo Nan's gaze swept over to that side and he saw Lu Tao's scholarly face wearing glasses. It could be seen that this person was probably the most clear-headed out of all of them. Seeing Luo Nan shift his gaze over, Lu Tao lightly adjusted his glasses. The corner of his mouth twitched as a greeting, but his expression was a bit stiff. It seemed like she hadn't decided whether she should pretend not to know him or treat him as an acquaintance. He was probably at Lu Tao's place, but he wasn't sure whether or not Luo Nan would be able to recognize him. Little did Luo Nan know that Luo Nan's impression of Luo Nan had already surpassed that of Lian Yu, Li Xueqing, and the others, who had crossed paths with Luo Nan and clashed with Lian Yu and Li Xueqing back on the warship. But since he was so conflicted, Luo Nan would just pretend that he didn't know him. Seeing Lu Tao here solved one of Luo Nan's doubts. No wonder he encountered drunkards one after another tonight. Sure enough, a bunch of second-generation rich kids were having a gathering here. Thinking about it, there were not many people in all of Xia City who could treat Frost River Reality as a hotel or restaurant. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. I didn't see Huang Bingjin. Luo Nan entered the elevator and nodded once more towards Hu Huaying in greeting. Soon, the elevator door slowly closed amidst the bidding farewell of the pretty guide. Lu Tao watched as the metal doors of the elevator closed. He confirmed that Luo Nan couldn't see him anymore. He finally let out the breath he had been holding in his throat. He didn't have much drunkenness to begin with, but all of it was let out with this breath. He turned his head and wanted to ask Hu Huaying, "Why is this guy here?" But the latter was still smiling and waving at the elevator door. Cursing inwardly, Zhang Xian hesitated for a moment before raising his wrist to contact someone. Who knew that another sound would ring out at this time? The elevator door that had just closed suddenly opened once more. Luo Nan was still alone in the elevator that was supposed to go down. His gaze swept across the faces of the group of drunkards outside the elevator. Lu Tao's heart suddenly twitched. His raised wrist froze in place. Luo Nan's gaze finally stopped on Hu Huaying's body. He revealed a faint smile and raised his wrist as well. He took a step forward. "Senior Hu, leave me your contact details." Hu Huaying was baffled. She slapped her head when she heard this. "Look at my brain. Come. Let's add each other as friends."
Let's keep in touch when we're in school. The two's wrists lightly touched and they added each other as friends on their wristbands. Hu Huaying enjoyed Luo Nan's display of goodwill. She patted Luo Nan's shoulder a few times. Luo Nan smiled as he accepted it, but he wasn't in a hurry to retreat. His gaze swept around and inexplicably locked onto Lu Tao's face. At this moment, Lu Tao looked straight into Luo Nan's eyes. Lu Tao's heart seemed to suddenly stop beating the moment his gaze made contact with those unclear pupils. He clearly knew that this reaction was too clumsy. He wanted to adopt a natural posture, but how could the instinctive reaction of the human body be controlled just because he wanted to? Lu Tao didn't know what kind of expression he had right now. He could only see that Luo Nan's gaze was fixed on his face. The smile he gave to Hu Huaying was still there, but he felt that something was wrong. Luo Nan's gaze moved down approximately half a second later. Luo Nan's eyes seemed to have a magnetic force. Lu Tao unconsciously moved down as well, just in time to see his own raised arm. In an instant, it was as if his arm had been branded by a red-hot branding iron. He suddenly pulled back and struck his own chest. Luo Nan's voice didn't fluctuate in response to this utterly terrible reaction. Senior Lu, let's add each other as friends? This chapter has yet to end. Please turn the page. Okay. Lu Tao didn't even know what he was saying. He watched Luo Nan's arm move forward. He was like a marionette as he moved his arm forward. A slight vibration indicated that the two had finished adding each other as friends. On the other side, Hu Huaying's somewhat blank eyes hooked back. She said vaguely, "You guys know each other?" When these words entered his ears, it was as if Lu Tao had been struck by lightning. He was stupefied on the spot. Luo Nan acted as if nothing had happened. He retreated back into the elevator and answered simply, "We've seen each other quite a few times last week. See you, seniors." The elevator door closed once more and the number indicated that it had gone down. At this time, the other three people that Luo Nan had ignored began to come back to their senses. They were both baffled and annoyed. Someone said, "This fellow is quite arrogant. Where did he come from?" Lu Tao was already unable to hear Hu Huaying's reply clearly. His mind was a bit absent-minded right now. He raised his wrist and the contact list interface still displayed Luo Nan's name. He scrolled forward and saw that the contact he had just tried to make was not too far away. At this very moment, the wristband that was as light as a feather was clearly pressing down on his wrist. No. That fellow actually isn't that amazing. Lu Tao did his best to recall last week's incident at the restaurant. Luo Nan's miserable appearance when Yen Yonghua had casually soaked him. But in the end, all the images returned to the depths of Luo Nan's mottled pupils. The demonic and cold colors suffocated him to the point where he nearly suffocated. Lu Tao couldn't help but smack his head. F***me. Your brain is broken. You think you're smart. Taoster? What are you doing? Hu Huaying had a baffled expression on her face. I didn't know that you and Luo Nan were in contact. Did you also get to know him through Brother Ping? Lu Tao gaped. He didn't know how to respond at all. In the end, he raised his wrist once more. The contact list on the screen scrolled up and down along with his eyeballs, tossing back and forth between two names. Right when he didn't know what to do, one of the two names suddenly enlarged. It nearly filled his eye sockets. Huang Bingzhen. The call connected. This idiot whose brain was half grainy and the other half was hallucinogenic shouted with his big tongue, "Taoster, hurry up and come over. All of you come over. I'll let you experience what supernatural powers are." You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.